and welcome to Endurance for Amateurs. This is round 6 here at Spa. It's going to be a great race in the Alien Endurance for Amateurs series, Alien Awards Endurance for Amateurs series. And I'm joined here tonight by Mr. Zach Purcell. Like always, how are you doing tonight, Zach?
Doing great. Really excited. This is one of the most famous racetracks in the world. It has so many elements to it. It's Eau Rouge and Radeon are entirely unique. There's nothing like it. There's no racetrack that has something similar to it anywhere else in the world. And this track just throws so many different challenges at you. You've got hard braking zones. You've got really fast aero turns. So it's a good challenge. And with a long lap time, there's a lot of places to mess up.
Yeah, there definitely are a lot of places to mess up. This is a good one to go wide in right here. This is, I don't even know. I've heard so many different names for it, but
Purcell, also known as Ravage, going into no name there.
So this is no name here. A really easy place to get an off track. I know we mentioned last week a lot that we get some off tracks at Spa. That's one of the main places here. Pouon, the downhill left, very, very fast, very high speed. Another great place to go off track and earn that 1x. Now remember.
Yeah, the LMP2s actually almost don't struggle through that corner at all, but the GT3s will have a tough time.
We'll definitely see a little bit of a points battle there because these incident points here, they do matter. Remember, 0x will get you a lot more bonus points. 1 to 4, I believe it is, will get you even less, but still bonus points. And then there's a last tier that gets you at least 1 point, which can help in the championship. They're not dropped.
Yeah, and we've got some tight battles throughout this field, and we can go back through the results. The safety point bonus has been a thing for a few seasons now, and you can go back a few seasons and you can see some head-to-head battles that were decided by safety points by the end, and it's even more of an effect, I feel, with this little bit shorter season, so people are less able to kind of pull away from each other.
Yeah, it's definitely it definitely spruces it up, I should say, and it always provides for a fun end to the season, a solid battle. I know we saw not last season, but the season before that actually came down just barely to the incident points.
Yeah, it's this is going to be one that if you remember last season, anyone who watched that broadcast, we had people who were not making any major mistakes. We're having good races in the good positions, and they were getting drive-through penalties. It ended up being that the top guys were just the ones who didn't have too many off tracks. So I fully expect that we could see the same sort of thing, especially with multi-class, because one of the elements of multi-class is that even if you both communicate with each other well, sometimes you just mess up your turn. You have to take a little bit of a different line, and you just mess up your braking point that you've been practicing in clean air the whole time, and it'll just create more mistakes, more off tracks, and we'll see how the drivers fare.
We will see how the drivers fare right about now. So let's take a look at our grid here. Terry Calgary Jr. in the LMP2 takes pole. I believe he took it last week. Had a great run. Couldn't come away with the win.
3 poles for him.
But yeah, he's doing pretty good this season. Then Nick Terrell and Adrian Garcia of the heels up there. And Patrick Ripley in his 3rd or 2nd race of the season. So he's back. Tyler Langenberg follows him. Then Chris Newby, Paul Skip, Owen McLaughlin, Paul Wildridge, Andrew Nary, Chris Richards, and Mark Dillon Jr.
And then following those guys, we have Zach Nurnberger and Don McCloy. Paul Boyle on yet another GTD Pro pole, and Jeff McDonald there on pole for GTD AM just behind him. They're followed by Aaron Claybaugh and Travis Bell, Daniel Real, Josh Doty, Daniel Hingley, Keith Roycroft, Nick Paletti, and Richard Curry.
All right, and then James Foreman, Angel Jarina, Steve Coubet, Jonathan Webb, Steven Shepard, Donovan Johnston, James Kingsbury, Christopher Craig, John Kelly, Dustin Dos Valles, Daniel Barnett, and then Craig Willis.
And finally, to round out the field, Rick Hughes, Trevor Dyer, Dan Coleman, Atticus Middleton, Miguel McNamara, Gareth McAllister, Leonardo Elijah, David Schmidt, Eric Jacobs, and Ryan Jeevan. And Gareth McAllister has a EOL, so he will be starting from the back of the field. He elected not to qualify there, but we'll see him starting at the back there.
Yeah, now we saw a different format here tonight. We did single qualifying for the first time in a season, I believe. And despite the Nürburgring as well, I think we did single. But other than that...
It is disorienting right there. That I don't know anyone that orients the Spa map like that. That's throwing me off, man.
Yeah.
I didn't recognize it.
But this is the first time that we've done the single qualifying, and so everybody had the track to themselves, and hopefully everybody had a chance to get in a great lap time. Now, this is half a pace lap here, as Terry Kegger Jr. leads them away, and it's going to be a single file start like always, no passing until I believe the Camel Straight, no passing through Eau Rouge and Raidillon.
Yeah, through Raidillon, drivers will be able to pass on the Camel.
All right, so that bus stop at the end of the straight, there's lots of carnage there sometimes, and I'm sure we might see one or two problems there tonight.
Big field, 46 people. I'm excited to watch this race.
Yeah, super excited. 46 cars is a lot. That's a big field for E4A here, and Terry Kegger Jr. is going to have control of them. Now remember, we're going to be going green, I believe, on this side of the straight here. It is a awkward start-finish straight, but Terry Kegger Jr. following the safety car all the way down and into La Source, and I believe into the pit lane will go that safety car. No. Oh, yes, there it goes. So, Terry Kegger Jr. has control of the field, and let's see how he does. Nicely done. The field is away. Single file like always. No big drama, and keeps it nice and clean all the way up to the bus stop. Nick Terrell's all the way over the back of Terry Kegger Jr. already, but
he's already pushing.
That's the classic Nick Terrell strategy right there, is to bump draft all the way down. But Adrian Garcia Vigil is looking for the move, but he can't. He's going to back out, and that's going to lose him a lot of time there. Nick Terrell is still in second, but Adrian Garcia Vigil, who started in third, I believe, is now behind Tyler Langenberg for a final corner exit of fifth.
Yeah, down to fifth. That's a bad start. He pulled out. I understand the attempt, but it just wasn't there and had to back out as some guys took advantage around the left side of him.
Yeah, Nick Terrell under attack now by Patrick Ripley in that beautiful white and green car there. He's flashing his lights. He's saying, let me by. It's only lap one, Pat. Any incidents caused on this lap, if the person is found to be held accountable, they will end up with an end-of-line penalty at the beginning of the next race they attend. Now you can see in the background an LMP2 car going very wide. I believe that's Mark Dillon Jr. through Pouan. So just an example of how you can go off and get an off track already. He's lost that safety bonus, or part of it.
Ooh. Yeah, unfortunately, we missed back there. Christopher Craig on the start going through Raidillon just lost control, and those cold tires hit the wall really, really hard, bounced back in, which is the exact reason they changed it in real life. Luckily, no one else collected in that, but that's a tow and an unfortunate start to this race for Christopher Craig.
Yeah, that'll do it. And he almost collected John Kelly there. Yeah,
didn't, but that was close.
So side by side now, Patrick Ripley and Nick Terrell into the braking zone of the bus stop. Patrick Ripley's going to have to back out, though. He just can't keep that nose in there cleanly. It's not worth risking it on lap one of a 140-minute race. Now, it's about a 2-minute lap for these cars. We'll see as they cross the line. That's the timing line there, but the start of the race is on the other side of La Source.
Yeah, no damage, but we did get a spin from Miguel McNamara and Leonardo Elijah. But then David Schmidt actually, kind of on a confusion trying to get around the slow-moving Elijah, does crash into the wall. Pretty heavy damage there.
So heartbreak, a lot of heartbreak already. Patrick Ripley's pulling out yet again. He's got that inside a little kink. He's going to have to go a little bit less distance down the straight, but can he convert it? He really wants to get by. I think he wants to stay with Terry and not let him run away, and that's what he's going to do as they go into the bus stop, and Pat's ahead.
No point in fighting it too much this early, but Ripley already up 2 spots, up from 4th to 2nd, so a good start to him. He certainly feels aggressive on the car right now.
Yeah, car's feeling good for him, and he's gonna take that as far as he can. That's Zach Nurnberger getting passed by Don McCloy into the Lacombe chicane, and let's take a look back here. Paul Boyle is doing pretty nicely out in front right now. That's a new livery. Not KFC, not Rainbow Barf. It's a nice medium for the British driver there.
Yeah, all three of our guys, with Boyle included there, who were on pole for their class, still leading the race. Certainly, Boyle has the biggest advantage, but all of them doing well to start this race. Really no big mistakes that we've seen from the top few drivers.
Yeah, you can't complain with a nice clean start to an endurance race. That's all you can really hope for. You don't want to be driving around with a broken car for the whole entirety of the race, which is 100 minutes. And before the end of lap 2, we're going to be about 4 minutes into this race.
Yeah, it's one of the longer laps. So we've had a couple longer ones, of course, earlier in the season. But as a standard kind of Grand Prix circuit, it's one of the longest, and so it does add a little bit to the fuel game, because being able to save an extra lap of fuel is a bigger deal. As McLaughlin now worrying about on the right side.
Yeah, there goes Paul Skip in the wonderful John Player special themed livery on the inside of Owen McLaughlin, and by the time they turn in, it looks like Paul Skip has the move done. And there he goes. He's driving away, and he's ahead. Nicely done. Further back, we see Paul Wildridge and Owen McLaughlin filtering behind, and then Christopher Newby there. And then we take a look. Don McCloy is really, really pressuring Mr. Richards now. Chris Richards is right under attack by Don McCloy, but will he go for it? We know the slipstream is powerful. It's helpful in saving fuel, and I don't know. Further up, though, Paul Skip is about to get repassed. Oh, they're getting close. They're nice and tight racing, and Paul Skip still has the advantage as they turn into the final turn of that complex there.
And don't be too shocked if we see Don McCloy continue to fight through these positions. He was very fast in the practice session, was actually the fastest overall, but had no qualifying time.
Oh boy, so he's a little bit behind, and that's going to cause him a little problem, but there is Travis Bell. I used his livery to say Travis and not Trevor, so thank you to the designer of that. And he's doing pretty great out there right now. He is in second place, chasing down Mr. Jeff McDonald, who's also, he has a new livery here tonight, which is a red car. I'm not used to not seeing a green car with a wireframe on it.
Yeah. I know I've been getting a little confused by some of these new liveries, but Jeff McDonald looking really good out front. His qualifying time was massively faster than his best practice time, was like 7/10 faster. So he really pulled out some extra pace in that qualifying session and surprised some guys, because I mean in the AM class during practice he had like the 7th best time.
Yeah, I mean we always love to see somebody come out of nowhere in practice, in qualifying from practice, and provides a little bit of a shocker and makes it fun.
Newbie lost out there.
Yeah, Newbie falling behind as Mr. I believe that is
Neri.
Mr. Neri gets by, but he's going to fight back into turn 1. Let's see, they're just out of the shot there. Newbie's on the inside. He's going to have that shorter line, but Neri has the run. And when you're going into a straight, you want the outside line if it's possible, because you'll have a better acceleration out. But take a look. Keith Roycroft in 5th place is now chasing down Daniel Hingley, and he's not too far off the back, about 3/10 going into the braking zone. He's a little bit slower just to keep out the back of him, and then he can really nail that acceleration. Look at that. He's all over the back of him on the way down. It's just not enough. And he's actually going to be under attack now by Nicholas Paletti, who's in 4th place. But he's, what, 9 seconds now back from Paul Boyle in 1st?
Yeah, it's already starting to become a huge gap for that pro field right now. Although potentially when the drivers get some room, that can come back down. Daniel Real all over the back. Oh, there's a wreck on Eau Rouge. I forget which driver that was there.
That is David Schmidt. So the wonderful Porsche factory livery there, going up the hill. The rear end just steps out on him, and
that's the second crash for him already. Some drivers have talked about the Porsche being a little bit unpredictable, and that may have been the case there.
How about that, though? That's Patrick Ripley going a little bit wide in his exit to try to get past Nick Terrell again, and it's gonna work. Oh, just barely not work out, and Terrell's gonna have the edge on him as they go into Blanchimont.
Another GT3 incident that we just saw just a few seconds ago. Donovan Johnson and Steven Shepard coming together there in Eau Rouge. So it was kind of bound to fail with these GT3 cars. Open wheelers kind of can do it, but the contact was just had to happen. Johnston was in front at the time by about half a car, and Shepard probably should have just backed out and gotten in line.
Yeah, it's always a game of who's going to back out and lose that corner, and sometimes neither you want to do it, and you make contact, and it happens, but it's never good for anybody. But look at that, Patrick Ripley all over the back of Nick Terrell again as they go down the straight. I feel we're going to see this battle all the time, but Terry Cowker Jr. is running away while these two duke it out, so that might not be in their best interest.
Yeah, Ripley recovering well, but man, just Terry just continues to pull away as these few guys here battle, and he's already got like a 4-second gap now in front. Paul Wildridge crashed there after the Lacombe chicane.
We see some, almost took out his teammate. We saw the smoke in that.
Yeah, not the first time.
That little shot there. Looks like he managed to keep it out of the wall or just barely tapped it. So, I mean, it's not too much damage, no visual damage at least, and the tire barriers are pretty forgiving in these cars.
Those Eagle Vision guys just can't stay away from each other. They're constantly either crashing into each other or almost crashing into each other just from some bad luck. But they do, they find themselves on track close to each other quite often with their similar pace they've got.
Yeah, Eagle Vision Racing. So we have an official team name for them. That might have been on the card the whole time, but Eagle Vision Racing is the blue cars of Owen McLaughlin, Paul Wildridge, and Chris Richards.
Yeah, I'm just going off of Paul Wildridge's thing that he had there for his SDK, but we can see really close there that Marlboro car of is that Keith Roycroft, right?
That would be the BMW there of Daniel Hingley, I believe. No. Daniel. No. Marlboro. Let's see. Trevor Dyer.
Ah, yes, Trevor Dye. So he's followed by Rick Hughes there. Rick Hughes gets almost dips into the sand as then Dyer dips in the sand on the outside. But these guys really close coming through a tough corner here. We do have David Schmidt, who has retired the car. He did have 2 wrecks, so kind of was looking like it was over before it started, unfortunately for him. That's an off track there.
Yeah, the off tracks are gonna be a little dangerous here. Paul Boyle's already got one, and it's just not good for your points. And of course, if you hit 22, I believe it is, in the coming hour and a half, you're gonna be out of well, you're gonna lose your safety points first, and then you're gonna have a drive-through, and that's spot is not a place that you want to have to drive through the pit lane. Luckily, we're not doing the endurance pits, which are very long, but yeah, it still would not be good. Here's Paul Wildridge. Looks like he disconnected from the session. Oh, there he is. He's just on a long blink. Further up the field, though, Patrick Ripley still ahead of Nick Terrell, and they're all still very close together, chasing each other down, and they're catching the first of the traffic now. Terry Cowger Jr. already got by, and Patrick Ripley now has to face Nick Terrell as well. He's going to go very wide through the corner, and Tyler Langenberg as well. We've heard lots of debate over GT3 traffic and LMP2 traffic in the past week about who should make the pass safe. It's on both of the drivers, but either way, we have to keep it clean around here.
I will say with the incident point discussion, it is fair to mention the context. Last season, it was a night or a day to night race, so that nighttime running really easy to make more mistakes on your braking points, and the track conditions change pretty fast as the sun goes down. But Nick Paletti right now mired in a really tough battle through the Lacombe chicane. He's between Daniel Hingley and Richard Curry right now, and has no room to breathe now going through Bruxelles.
Here he is in the wonderful Spotify Rainbow Doge, many brands BMW. Now, Doge Squad is usually the attack of the food wars, but tonight it is just random Doge Squad liveries.
He's up one position overall. but is a good amount off his two teammates there at the top, and then Josh Doty doing really well to run third. We actually haven't had a race yet this season where the top three for pro haven't been Boyle, Claybaugh, and Paletti. So Josh Doty qualifying well here, up 2 spots overall, and has the opportunity to be the first guy in that pro field to qualify other than the other 3 that are top at the overall standings right now.
Yeah, Paul Boyle, really dominant, and of course Aaron Claybaugh, always up there with him. And then Nick Paletti just hasn't had the form here tonight. I mean, he qualified lower, and now he's working.
Johnston crash.
Yes,
Puhan.
Johnston in Puhan. So
Damage.
that is a fast left-hander that we talked about with Raycroft following him there, and there he is in the Lamborghini. Car just rotates on him. Now, luckily, he's able to keep it. Oh,
nope.
Never mind.
Yep.
I thought he'd keep it in a straight line, but unfortunately it came around on him again. So not too devastating, not any damage, but his tires will be a little scuffed up. They'll be overheated, so it's up to him to just take it down a notch, cool down, and get back into form.
Well, he also just now got back on track. He was off for a really long time there, being very cautious, of course, making sure there's no traffic. But man, he lost a ton of time there, unfortunately. Puhan and he loses it again. The tires all cooked up, so was collected at least.
Almost looked like they were spinning around. I think it's Dan Coleman, but we lost at some point. Mark Dillon Jr. Is in the pits and out of this race currently. Last lap, I'm not sure what happened with him.
Yeah, it was a little bit ago. Just miscommunication on some lapping traffic, I believe, from what I heard on the radio. But I'll double check the incident. But I believe that's what it came from, and he ended up getting a meatball flag. So it must have been some pretty bad damage.
All right, so maybe he's a fast repair. So with his fast repair, he still decided to park the car. In the background, that is Chris Richards in the 49 car, and Zach Nurnberger swerving to cut him off, defend his line. He's got the inside, and Zach Nurnberger is going to stay in front as they go through the corner.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't. There was a thing with lapping traffic earlier. That just overcooking it, unfortunately, going into turn 15, turn before Stavelo, and got into the sand and lost it, which is a common thing that you'll see here, especially with the faster cars.
So, coming up to that turn, I believe, right? After this Lafange. Oh, Rick Hughes looping it around, though. It looks like everybody's going to keep it clean. Lafanya, says the French speaker. Terry Kagger Jr. coming up on more traffic now. There he is, making his way through. But look at that, Pat Ripley up not too far off the back of him now. 3/10 is that gap. That traffic did not help Terry out. The cars are pretty similar, actually. Blue and, white and green, I mean. But yeah, Terry really losing the traffic lottery, as we can see just how close they are going down into the bus stop.
Well, and it wasn't just the traffic.
Oh,
no.
And Pat locks it up.
That was such a minor contact, but
now they're both.
Yeah, it was more than that. He was actually a second faster on the previous lap, but now both of them are going to have to make up as Terrell inherits first place.
Yeah, oh boy. So Terry, nicely done to get it going again, but Patrick Ripley, even better than that, is already way ahead, trying to battle Paul Skip to keep his position. Let's take another look at that incident there. Pat Ripley, lots of speed into the corner, and I don't know, let's see. Yeah, Terry Kagger Jr. just broke a little bit early, and Pat wasn't expecting it. Locked it up, all four wheels. You could see him sliding. At that point, he was just a passenger.
Yeah, that was a full lockup, which we've seen there on a couple times this season with no ABS on these cars. And when you're in that tow, it makes it even tougher. But Paul Skip now on the outside can be battled until they come. You can win on either side of this, that's for sure.
You sure can. And Patrick Ripley is going to win this time. But wow, that traffic there is going to be a little sketchy for him. And he makes it through.
Yeah, these LMP2s running in some sketch traffic for sure. Terry just behind, getting pretty close with Gareth McAllister. But here's where they're actually starting to run into some big groups of GT3s rather than just solo ones that maybe had some early incidents.
Yeah, we can take a look here at our map. Our leaders right there are coming up on 11th place in GTD AM right about now. So we'll see that big group there from 2nd in Pro to 7th in AM. That's quite a field there. They're going to have to get by pretty soon.
Yeah, Garcia Vigil obviously had a rough start to the race. We saw he lost 3 positions, I think, in the first lap, but now by not making any.
I can remember almost into the back of Owen McLaughlin. Go ahead.
Not making any big mistakes. He's actually up 1 from where he qualified there in 3rd. So a good early section of this race for Vigil as one of the Eagle Vision.
I believe that's McLaughlin. No, Richards actually falling back a little bit.
Yeah, luckily not too much of a mistake there, but yeah, we're seeing some people racking up some incident points early. There's no question about that. I mean, there's a few guys already over 10, lots of them over 5.
Getting past Gareth McAllister into the bus stop, but he's going a little bit deep. Gareth's gonna have to fight to keep that, and he does.
Yeah, Gareth having to start from the back, as I said earlier. He's starting to make his way through some spots. He does have a lot to go, of course, to get to Craig Willis ahead, but Miguel McNamara is now the guy ahead of him that he's got to catch up to.
Yes, so he'll be working his way. We'll have to catch up with him in just a little bit. But here, Chris Newby and
Steve Shepard, sorry.
And that is Terry Cacker Jr. all the way down in 9th following the incident with Patrick Ripley. Not how he wants his race to go. He hasn't had quite a dominant season like he did last season. And I guess that's good for E4A, but for Terry, not quite as good.
Well, and despite the fact that we're 20 minutes in, regardless of that, he's only 12 seconds off. 12 seconds, you'd rather be in front, of course, but 12 seconds is not insurmountable. So there's a lot to go in this race, and despite it being a good amount into the we're 9 laps in, it's actually remained pretty close with those top 9 or 10 guys in the LMP2 class.
For sure, it's definitely possible for Terry to come back and win it. We've seen it before, but with Terrell out there, he's a fast guy. I'm not saying he can't make a mistake, but it might not be the easiest night for Mr. Cacker Jr.
Yeah, Langenberg's quietly been there in 3rd place. He's up 2 spots. Haven't seen any drama from him. That nothing, no big mistakes or anything. But he definitely is racking up those points, continuing to extend his lead. And 3rd place, if he finishes here, is going to be another boon to that. I don't think he's had really a single bad race this season.
Yeah, it's been looking pretty good for him.
Yeah, he's got Road America. Yeah, he got last week, of course, was a horrible race for him. But before that, it was a win, a second, and a win. So 3rd place will be another valuable point haul here as Daniel Real there puts in the fastest lap for the GTD AM field.
Yeah, a nice 2:18.8, so 0.8 slower than the fastest lap there in GTD Pro, but not bad at all.
Yeah, that's very strong. 2:18.8. I mean, almost every single GT3 driver right now is putting in 2:20s or slower than that.
Yeah, so let's take a look here, actually, at our last time graph here. We take a look at each driver's last lap time. So Daniel Real, the 2:18.8. Everybody around him, 19s or 20s or higher, and of course Paul Boyle in the same situation.
He's got 5 seconds to Bell in front, but I mean, if he's able to continue this kind of pace, then we don't know if traffic kind of came into play with any of these laps. But if he's able to continue that kind of pace, he definitely is in the conversation for winning AM class, because Bell is right on McDonald right now. It's been sub 1 second for quite a while, and McDonald hasn't really had a lot of room to breathe, as he's following right behind Aaron Claybaugh also.
Yeah, he sure is right on the back. Now, Daniel Real, I believe he's never won a race in E4A. He's gotten close. He's been 3rd. He's been 2nd, especially a lot last season. But if I'm correct, he's still a rookie.
Yeah, he is no wins. Had a lot of poles in the AM class last season. Wasn't able to convert any of them to wins, unfortunately. But this is one of his best opportunities this season so far. As I say that, he's.
Oh boy. It's a classic. So a dangerous corner there, Blanchimont. Of course, we've got high downforce set up, so not as scary here, but still pretty scary. And I'm seeing a lot of stuff going down, so let's take a look. This is
in the bus stop.
Let's take
Foreman and McLaughlin, and then his teammate Chris Richards. Sorry, yeah. After this, we see the teammates collide yet again.
Here's Jurena. Daniel Reales in the background, and then Terry Calgary Jr.'s around. Chris Newby's into him. Jurena's into him. And then, that's Foreman.
James Foreman, there's McLaughlin, and then Richards hits McLaughlin.
Now we see McLaughlin. He's coming into it, and for him, it's a blind corner. I know, he's coming through it, and you can kind of see it there. It goes out of view, and boom! Right in your face.
And then here comes the teammate. Oh, why? It blinked away. His teammate, Chris Richards, comes there and spears him. Unfortunately, nothing he could really do to avoid that. So that's a lot of guys in the pits there. McLaughlin toes the pits. Terry Kiger Jr. out of the session. Chris Newby either drives in or toes the pits. Damage to Chris Richards. I was just talking about how clean and how close everyone was, but that's definitely changed some things in this LMP2 class, especially in the midfield.
Yeah. I'm going to say now at this point, Terry Kiger Jr. is out of the win, but you never know. He's out of the session at this point, though, and that's going to cause him a little trouble trying to get the win here tonight.
James Foreman also had to tow from that. He had some pretty bad damage. McLaughlin and actually McAllister, he doesn't even have a rear wing on his car right now. I'm trying to figure out what that damage came from, but he is limping that thing heavily. He tried to get into the pits, but he's not looking good. It was in Blanchimont there, like we kind of saw happen to Daniel Real, except it was a different mistake. Yeah, look at that.
It reminds me of a catfish. I don't know why, but it's not a good-looking car anymore, despite it maybe once being in the eyes of Patrick Ripley.
He actually luckily did get in, though. He got into the pits, shockingly.
So he made it to the pits, got his fast repair, and he'll be able to come right back out. Paul Boyle, though, is in the pits. Is that scheduled?
I mean, it's not that. Yeah, I mean, they go about half an hour because they're on the... Yeah, it's maybe a little early, but Claybaugh did the same, and then actually Jeff McDonald and Travis Bell now as well. So I guess just some higher fuel burn than we were kind of expecting at the very start.
Yeah, it's always a shorter stint with the smaller fuel tanks, and I suppose it's around 27 minutes usually, and maybe
Long
doing
laps.
another lap would have made it a 29 minutes. So, yeah. Okay, makes sense. So one pit stop down. That is the license classification there on our screen, in case you were wondering what license all the drivers hold.
Haven't even hit the 30-minute mark, and we're already down to just 3 drivers with no incidents, which would be Paul Skip, as we can see there in the fifth place spot for LMP2. Andrew Neri, who's just 2 spots behind him in 7th. And remember, Andrew Neri took me up on a challenge to get 0x here at Spa, because I didn't think that anyone could do it. So he's on his way there, doing well, and he's been plenty racy. Also he's up 3 spots, so it's not like he's just out there on a Sunday drive. But and then actually Paul Skip just earned a 1x while I was talking. But Jeff McDonald, the other one to not have any incidents, and before he came to the pits there, he was the leader for GTD AM. But we'll have to wait till after the pit cycle to make sure that he still holds that position.
Yeah, I would have put money on Nick Paletti being on that list, but of course he's had some issues here tonight. He's on lap. Oh no, has he had some issues? No, he's in first. Okay.
Believe it or not, but Paletti's had 4 off tracks actually. He's a little uncharacteristic there. As he's just gone wide in a few of the common areas. I think I saw him go wide in No Name Corner, for example. One of those spots where it's not dangerous to go out wide, but they'll slap you anyway.
Yeah, you'll get that 1X as a power move by the track. Just let you know that they are the boss of you. Paul Boyle earns another one, and Craig Willis, Miguel McNamara, and Owen McLaughlin all jump to the pits. Let's see if we can find what happened with them. Did they? I don't know. Let's take a look. This is Daniel Hingley, at least.
Well, McLaughlin had actually had a black flag. I think he was either speeding in the pits or at a dangerous pit exit or something. Because remember, he had the pit from that.
Right into the back of him. Used him as a brake.
But yeah, McLaughlin just serving a black flag. I don't know if that was just a stop and go or a stop and hold, but from his pit that he had after that damage in the bus stop.
All right, well, very unfortunate there.
I mean, at least looking at Keith Roycroft's car there, it doesn't look like he had any damage. It wasn't really a huge collision, although Roycroft ended up losing it just a couple turns later, nearly got some more damage. So I think Roycroft just a little bit thrown off by the slingshot that he had from behind it. I mean, these aren't open wheeler cars, but the toe is real down the Kimmel, especially on high downforce.
It sure is. You'll pick up some speed. That closing speed is gonna be pretty high, and it's just a matter of backing off a little bit, lifting, brake a little bit earlier than usual, and make sure everybody makes it home at the end of the day.
Yeah, unfortunately, another incident for Donovan Johnston, who is now out of this race. So, fortunate, but we've had I mean, he's not the only one to have retired from the race so far. As Dos Vice right on the back is going to pull out to the left. You have to, when you're in front, you have the opportunity to choose which side you want.
Well, Dos Vice on the outside, and it's looking good for him. Keith Roycroft still even through the corner, but that inside line allows him to get a little bit shorter of an exit. Of course, Keith Roycroft had the extra power, but it's not that kind of corner.
Dos Vice is up 12 spots overall in the race. It's he's had incredible start. Looked really confident on the brakes there, and being strong on the brakes is how you need to get by on this track, because the two main passing zones are there, that like home chicane and the bus stop.
Yeah, Paul Boyle's gonna need to be a little careful. I'm seeing a lot of
oh man, ow.
That's not good for Craig Willis, but Paul Boyle, I've seen quite a few off tracks for him in the past few minutes, so hopefully he can keep those incidents down. That's no name scary if you get on the power a little bit too early, and that's what happened for Steve Coubet.
Believe it or not, Paul Boyle only at 1, so he's been towing that line of track limits perfectly, because he's right on the edge, but he's not getting any punishment from it. So fantastic car control, because yeah, I mean it looks like he's going out wide, but he knows exactly where it's at apparently.
Yeah, SDK, so close to track limits that it's registering Mr. Boyle as going off track. So we'll check back.
A few spots that you can really test those limits on the curbs. It's a little bit better than the track limits used to be here, but oh man, that's a tight group that we see there. Those are top positions.
That's not tight anymore.
Hingley
into the wall.
Oh, it's easy to get on the gas a little bit early. It's a little bit of a decompression zone. There's a little bit of a bump in the track, and you're really, really slow, and you're cranking on the steering wheel. It's pretty easy to get a little squirrely there. Fortunately, just too much gas taking it into the wall.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I've done that many times. We did F3s here in both of the races. I spun it.
Ooh,
there.
That may have been a slowdown there.
It's really easy to cut that top of the curb and end up with a slowdown, and that is what happened there. But
the Reals, that's why he's falling off the back of that group.
But that's Hingley there also. Coming out of the wall, managed to keep it in, keep it going. That's Real.
Yeah, Real has lost a few positions now. He's there behind James Kingsbury right now. Again, we just seen him up there in third, but now Richard Curry has taken that third place spot, 15 seconds off of Travis Bell. So it's really just currently a two-man race.
It is, but we'll have to check back in. We still have, wow, that's a short 30 minutes. We only have an hour and 10 minutes, but it feels like we've been maybe 15 minutes into this race. 30 minutes have passed.
Yeah. I think that based on the time, we may actually start to get some sunset happen. It won't be nighttime running, but we'll start to get some sunset at the end of this race. We saw the headlights come on, I think, at Road America last week. It's currently almost 4 o'clock in the sim. And obviously, like you said, with 4 hours, or with 1 hour, but 4 times speed, so 4 hours to go in the sim, we're going to get around 8 p.m., I think, by the end of this race.
So that'll be fun to see. I always love a sunset finish. It's great. It looks great on camera, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, these two guys here, Garcia Vigil and Langenberg, really holding steady for a lot of this last 5 or so laps. Nick Terrell just kind of starting to pull away out front. For the most part, they've all been about similar in pace, but they're certainly not catching up. They still got that 5-second gap in front, and these two guys staying close as Paul Skip trying to get into that conversation for the podium positions. Definitely has recovered to be up 3 from where he started and just a couple seconds off of Tyler.
That's some smoke there. Let's take a look. This is James
Kingsbury in the pits.
Vigil is in the pits. Now this is Kingsbury. I think this is the source of that smoke. Going into turn 1, and a little bit too much.
Oh, wow.
Clips
that fast.
wall on the curb, or I'm not sure what exactly he hit, but that's going to cause him to loop around. I think he towed,
Yeah, he did hit the wall. Just really cutting that corner, and his rear left tapped that wall. I've actually done that in the open wheelers before. I wonder if he's just gonna take it out of the race, because he was right there. That was pit entry. He could have just driven in.
Yeah, I've actually never seen that kind of spin from tapping that wall. I've seen a little damage, but never the car thrown.
Interesting to see Vigil taking that pit now. 35 minutes. Of course, that means that he could have gone another 10 minutes, but it kind of seems like what he's doing is trying to make 3 equal length stints. So with 100 minutes, 35 will take you, just a little bit over that 1/3 mark. So I wonder if that's his strategy to just kind of minimize the loss from taking new tires.
Yeah, personally, I'm always an advocate for waiting to take that splash and dash cover up, because anything can go wrong, and all of a sudden you have an extra pit stop that you didn't need to take when you get a little damage. But yeah, hopefully it plays out for him, but it's always sketchy doing it this early in the race.
Yeah, despite the fact that we've had that field spread, he's still only 10th place. So there's been so many incidents that we've seen.
Getting a little jammed up
behind Keith Roycroft and Dan Real. Keith Roycroft is just. I'm trying to figure out what's wrong. He just his car just seemed to be like driving slow. I don't know if he had a slowdown or something from Lefania, or. But it's not been a fantastic race for Keith Roycroft, unfortunately.
Well, we did see some heavy contact to the front of that car there for Keith earlier on when he used somebody as a brake. I believe it was Daniel Hingley. So, that could be the cause of a little trouble for him. But Paul Skip having no trouble at all. He's all over the back of Patrick Ripley, and Don McCloy wants into this battle as well. He's trying to squeeze in on that left side, but just can't get in. And Patrick's gonna give it his all, but oh boy, that's gonna be too much. Yeah.
That dirty air, losing the downforce, kind of throwing him off there, Patrick Ripley. But no, Keith Roycroft, that collision was actually very minor. Had basically no damage from it. I think he must have had a slowdown. That's my guess. Just had some hairy situations with some guys. He did go very wide after Lefania, and I don't know if that was wide enough to get a slowdown from that. I've never done it.
It's enough. Now this is Don McCloy looking to get past the Ferrari there, and he makes it happen nice and easy. Patrick Ripley though is not
he's in the pits.
As lucky here is Patrick Ripley going down to no name corner, and something tells me he lit up the tires a little bit too much.
Oh no, he just gives up.
That second incident, he had contact with Terry Calgary Jr. earlier, and he had a second incident there going into turn 3, so he's just going to pack it in for the day.
Fortunately, Dos Vias, I'm trying to see. Yeah, I think it looks like it's on. Yeah, rear left damage. Just we're praising him and how much of a great race he's had, but he lost it on the entry to Puhan. Tried to save it, and hits the wall. Not really that hard, but hits it in just the wrong way and needs to come in to get that repaired.
We love the good old commentator's curse here on Endurance for Amateurs. It's our favorite thing.
Yeah, and unfortunately, this is way out of the pit strategy, considering that pit just less than 5 laps ago, or this will be 5 laps when he pits. So it's a pretty unfortunate timing for him because it doesn't really look like the pace is that far off. But yeah, that's not some good looking damage to the rear of that car.
Yeah, so here's how they stack up. Actually, everybody, or a lot of people, pitting 11 laps in. Of course, Doty a little bit skewed in the data with a little
Wildridge and Neri now into the pits.
Wildridge and Neri into the pits. It's looking like it'll be 17, 18 laps.
Neri was not able to do the 0x. He's picked up an off track, so he's at 1. Jeff McDonald now the only guy to have 0x in this race so far, and it's a testament to his pace here because he's still in first place. He has, Travis Bell to contend with right behind him, but he's fast without ever stepping off track so far.
Well, let's see if he can keep it up, because he's doing well. That nice new livery of his is treating him nice, and hopefully we'll see him turn that into something. But I'm not going to talk about it because he'll end up in the wall in a few minutes if I do.
Haven't really run into any issues so far with the lapping traffic for the most part. I mean, a couple, it's just kind of unfortunate timing, but I don't think we've seen any collisions between classes, and it's been pretty clean. We saw, to be honest, we saw certainly a few incidents last week at Road America, so it's certainly been better, and we're closing in on that halfway point for this race.
Yeah, it definitely has been better, and it's about 10 minutes to halfway. Now, this is kind of flown by. It's a very, very fast race. Spa, always a big one. The big tracks time seems to fly when you're having fun here. And Spa, my favorite track. I know a lot of people really love this track, so it's really known. Everybody's super fast, and it's super
pits.
Super competitive. So our leader into the pits, Nick Terrell, is in there. Tyler Langenberg and Paul Skip and McCloy also in there.
Dustin Dos Vias must agree with, it's pretty much the entire field there. Dos Vias must agree with me that the damage doesn't really seem that bad, because he didn't actually come into the pits on that last. That's out wide. Didn't come into the pits on the last lap. He had the opportunity to, and he was just behind Jonathan Webb last lap, and is still just behind him. So Webb, a strong driver, and he's right there still.
Yeah, we can see that gap, about 4/10. So that's not a lot, and then the slipstream will be in effect as well. It's looking good for Mr. Dos Vias.
Well, but he has the meatball. He has to come in, whether his car has pace or not. He has to come in to get that fixed. It's just it's a interesting situation where he still is able to be fast in that car.
Yeah, it's not going to be too long of a pit stop, though. It's pretty much a drive-through, so better than an actual meatball. It'll hurt him, but he can bounce back.
Yeah, he's actually, when you get behind him there, he's up 11 spots. To be fair, there are some large gaps. He's got about 20 seconds to Daniel Burnett behind, who has then like 20 seconds or so to Dan Coleman. So, yeah, he actually may come out only losing one position, maybe not even that one, depending on how quick it is.
We'll keep an eye on him. But right now, Andrew Neri is under attack from Don McCloy. And he's been chasing him down, trying to get past, but Daniel Barnett might throw a wrench in that story there, as Andrew Neri has to take an alternate line through Rivage.
Don McCloy, of course, fighting back from not qualifying, and was right behind him when they came into that pit cycle, but still behind. Andrew Neri's still been pretty quick, but on the average over the last 5 laps, McCloy's actually been 7/10 faster, so it's probably just a matter of time at this point for McCloy, who's doing his best to charge through the field and up to 6th and trying to get to 5th.
What a camera angle that is. I really like these static shots here. But yeah, let's take a look here. Daniel Real, hold on, we'll come right back. Daniel Real, this is going into Blanchimont. We've seen some issues here earlier. The Porsche has been unpredictable, and there goes the rear end of that baby blue Porsche. Hopefully,
yeah, this is interesting to see. The Porsche was, of course, borderline overpowered last season, and at least in this racetrack, it looks like it's one of the hardest cars to control, and it's still not even represented in the guys who are at the total top of the standings. So, it's certainly a change of the guard for that Porsche. No longer the strongest car for sure. Paul Boyle rocking the BMW at the front, Claybaugh as well, and Jeff McDonald. So the top 3 for the GTD field are all there in the BMW, and then we got some Mercedes and Ferrari behind that.
Yeah, and we can take a look also at how they stack up overall. So, all the way down here, Paul Boyle, Aaron Claybaugh next to each other on track, then the 2 amateur 1-2, and then 3-4 for pro, and then the rest of the AM field. Steve Coubet, Craig Willis, and Gareth McAllister are all down many positions. They're following 15th in AM.
Keith Roycroft out of this race. I'm not sure if there was an individual incident that caused it. I think it was just a string of frustration from some minor incidents, because he just pulls it off track here in Lecom and it's out of the session. But yeah, Dos Weiss coming in finally to make that repair. Looks like he actually did take a stop, so took the opportunity to actually get some fuel instead of just a single drive-through. So lost a little bit more time, was about 43 seconds lost, and still only there in 20th for the overall GTD field.
So I mean, 20th, not too bad, but not great.
Yeah, he was right on the back of a lot of guys there before that incident, but hopefully we're able to see him try to get some more spots up. He certainly has been fast, so he has the opportunity to do so, as Jonathan Webb now really closing up on that damaged Daniel Real car.
Let's see what he can do. It's not looking like he's going to be being able to make the move. Paul Skip also looking to slip through as Real pulls it over. Look, you can see the sparks there under Webb's car. That's pretty fancy.
Yeah, not to make things even worse for Real, but yeah, he's at 17 incidents already, so it'll be a big ask for him. I mean, we're not even halfway through the race. To not make it to 22, it's going to be pretty difficult. We've already had 2 drivers hit that. Donovan Johnston, who then left the session, and Trevor Dyer is at 24, so he must have already served his.
Yeah, so not optimal. That
Dan Coleman, huge damage there now.
Let's take a look for Dan Coleman. Where is?
Just in the Lafanya chicane there. Oh wow!
Lafanya.
What in the world happened here? This is so strange. Huge tank slapper. Gigantic.
Quite a tank. Oh, wow.
Wow, what a dodge. Oh, wow.
That is close. Andrew Neri, let's see. Oh, Daniel Real taking him out.
Oh, yeah, that was Rick Hughes, by the way, that dodged that previous one.
There they come out after the blink, and they are not in one piece, that's for sure. You can see Neri's bumper. Oh, an insult to injury there. That's Mr. Newby also slipping by the pair. Daniel Real.
Oh, wow, look at the tire.
Oh, yeah, that is not connected to the axle.
Yeah, that was kind of strange. I don't know if Real just didn't see him, or it was very weird. Their cars like morphed together entirely. But I mean, McCloy was there. McCloy didn't really suffer anything from it. Yeah, that was just a little bit weird.
Yeah, just slipped into the grass, got turned, and get collected. I'm surprised we haven't seen any of that in the Lecombe braking zone, because I've seen that happen many times, far too many than I'd like to admit.
Tough braking zone, and as we get late into the stints, it gets tougher and tougher on the tires. Get Something out with Steven Shepard maybe, and Vaheel even. See what happens here. In the bus stop, I believe. Yeah.
Just a little bit too much.
You can't really clobber that inside curb on the steering. And then something happened to Vaheel here.
So Vaheel going into La Source, I think he's going to tap the wall. Oh no, it's on brakes. And he's going to clog up that. Luckily he gets it going again, and nobody is really harmed by it.
Yeah, luckily he didn't lose too much time. He's only on lap 6 of his stint. Of course, we saw him pit 3 laps earlier than most everyone else did. But, yeah, just a little bit too hard on the brakes in there. It's a tough braking zone. It is. It looks simple because of how wide the track is, but it's bizarrely easy to go deep there.
Oh,
and so he was just a little aggressive on the brakes to save it.
Saw somebody go a little bit wide there through the exit there of Rouge and Radion, but
oh, look at that side by side.
That's a scary corner to do it through. Blanchimont and James Foreman.
Oh no!
Can't
an off track and a crash.
Can't keep it together as they do it through that scary corner, like I foreshadowed. Very, very scary. But out in front, Nick Terrell now under attack by Tyler Langenberg. This is just like their opening rounds. We saw these two duking it out. Terry Calgary Jr., of course, was also there, but not here tonight.
Yeah, Vaheel having that incident just kind of unleashed Langenberg, I guess. As it almost looks like it's inevitable for him to make a move. Over the last 5 laps, they've been about equal in pace, but Langenberg's all over him right now.
Langenberg's all over the back, and
make a move here.
That's some nice
trees in the way
we're seeing. But Langenberg goes for it, and he's ahead of Terrell by the time they're in the braking zone. And I know Terrell really likes to do some bump drafting, so we'll see a lot of that as we go down this. Well, the pit straight, of course, not right now, but down the Camel Straight, if he could catch up, we'll see some bump drafting, some fuel saving, and trying to run away from Adrian Garcia, but heel behind.
Yeah, Langenberg looking really strong right now. See if Terrell can fight back, although they got some unfortunately timed traffic going through Eau Rouge here.
So never fun. That'll kind of slow you down a little bit. They're both getting away nice and strong. It doesn't look like it hindered one more than the other, but of course the slipstream is just so powerful for Terrell. And yep, Terrell getting locked behind Mr. Trevor Dyer there, so that's going to cost him a lot of time.
Yeah, he sees Langenberg going down the road as Langenberg comes into some traffic here with Travis Bell at a bad time there in Brussels. It's a frustrating one because there's not a good way around and then going through no name. But man, look at this group going side by side here 50 minutes into the race.
Yeah, they are they're fighting hard back here for that's 5th place, 4th, 5th, and 6th.
Oh, Newbie doing. Oh wow, Newbie really avoided an incident there as Craig Willis lost it in Lefania. His car's still stuck there.
Let's take a look at Craig Willis. So
yeah, this was yeah.
Oh, this is different. No.
Oh, it's not Lefania. Sorry, Lacombe. Sorry. Going through Brussels.
Rivage.
Nice job to avoid it. Brussels a tough one to make an adjustment on the steering because with that off camber you're kind of just stuck on your line. So nice avoidance there by Newbie.
Yeah, it's a very tricky corner. All these drivers are on the edge as they're driving, so there's not a lot of room for them.
Traffic here in the Blanchimont. Oh, he had the lift. Skip had the lift.
That's going to cost him some time. Now McCloy is looking to get by. Nary's looking to unlap himself. Not anything going to happen, though. Dyer is caught up in a big passing of LMP2s. He gets a little wiggly, and that's going to inhibit there for Mr. Wildridge.
Yeah, if Nary hadn't had that incident, I think that he really could be here at this point of the race in actuality and not a lap down. He was close to McCloy right before all that stuff happened. But yeah, McCloy already trying to move his way up to 4th. And then 3rd would just be another 6 seconds down the road. So, you can see what the effect is to not qualifying or qualifying poorly, but he's doing his best to fight that back off, and he'll definitely have it coming into turn or like home here.
Yeah, and our second round of pit stops happening in the GTD class, as I believe Paletti is going to lead them, and he's going to be one of the first.
Paletti, Doty, Curry.
Doty as well.
Kelly.
So
Now, only able to go 11 or 12 laps in these, at least that stint length of it was. So it seems like a little bit low, but Paletti's usually one of the best at fuel management, but it must be a strategy decision to be doing that, because I would imagine you can do maybe one or two laps longer.
Yeah, I think at the spot 24 we were doing about 25 lap stints was our goal, so 50% fuel tank, it's not too far off.
Yeah, Paletti there is fighting pretty hard with Doty. They came in on the same lap, so maybe he was just doing the same thing as him and matching him on that strategy. It's only a 5-second gap between the two, and Paletti has been further back earlier in the race, so starting to catch up a little bit.
So this is Hingley, though. He served the Dos Valles served his meatball and is now being tracked down by Daniel Hingley. So
we saw that crash by Hingley earlier as well.
Yeah, Dustin only lost one position from serving that meatball. Not too bad.
Yeah, he fell behind Barnett, who just took his pit, so he's behind us. We'll see how things shake up after. Yeah, with Dos Valles, it's all over because his pit strategy is all messed up now. But in general, yeah, he only really lost one spot and has the pace to try to make up a couple more.
Yeah. So over halfway as well. We've got just over 46 minutes, or just under that, left in this race.
Then again, impressively, as Jeff McDonald here comes into the pits, still at 0 incidents. So doing a great job to keep it clean, keep it on track. I mean, only one other guy even has one, which is Josh Doty, who is also having a great race for himself too.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good for him in third in pro, in that wonderful orange Ferrari.
Steven Shepard there trying to make a move on John Kelly. Just goes a little deep into the chicane, has to bail out. Nothing too dramatic. Just turn before that. Nothing too dramatic. Just how racing works sometimes.
It happens, and now Shepard's just a little bit down the road, about 3 seconds off of John Kelly.
He's actually still got a slowdown to burn off. That must have been pretty aggressive. He waited, it seemed like a safe amount of time.
Yeah, and then we can see Travis Bell as well, coming out of the pits there, and the very, very interesting pit exit. It's up, it's around a corner, and then eventually dumps you out onto the straight.
Wow, yeah, Shepard actually had that slowdown, didn't burn it off enough. Started to try to burn it through a Rouge and Radion with Josh Doty behind, and actually couldn't get it all off, and now has a black flag for that. So he's going to have to come back around in the next few laps. Was close to making that move on Kelly, but that's going to hurt. And Trevor Dyer, unfortunately himself, just pulls gets another off track, which earns him another drive-through. So
how about this, though?
Going to hurt his race even more.
That's going to hurt his race. Mr. Paul Boyle, our race leader. He's off track into the wall, and he's going to toe to the pits.
Yeah, that's exactly how Dustin Dos Valles hit the wall. Similar, where you see that rear left hit, and yeah, Paul Boyle getting a meatball as well. I'm sure he could have driven it, but it's a little bit frustrating. So Claybaugh maybe. Oh no!
Shepard is going to have more to worry about than his black flag now, as that's it's going to be a nice. I mean, it doesn't look damaged, but I'm sure he might have some physical damage.
Claybaugh now inheriting like a 11 or second, 12 and a half now, 12 and a half second lead to Josh Doty behind, but that does put Paletti there in top 3.
So here's Leonardo Elijah going into the bus stop, and he's just a little bit too hot to trot. Can't get it slowed down, and letting off the brakes to not lock up causes his car to rotate.
Not too much harm. Not too much time lost either. It's so slow through there.
Yep, just some scrubbed and hot tires, but other than that, he's okay. Steven Shepard getting a little bit wiggly. You know, he's got that damage. He's just trying to get back to the pits.
See a black flag for Dane Coleman. I believe it was an unsafe pit exit. I think he crossed over the pit exit line, which kind of curves out to the right. Oh no!
Shepard around again. Getting a little rough for him here. So he'll make his way.
Yeah, tires getting pretty cooked, that's for sure. Oh, interesting to see that Paul Boyle towed, but I mean, it does look like he still intends to rejoin this race. He's still in the session, waiting for his car to fully tow, but I feel like he probably could have driven it. We got a few guys coming to the pits. Steven Shepard there coming to the pits, trying to probably fix some of that damage. Trevor Dyer's in for his drive-through.
Yeah, Paul Boyle. I mean, he's still got points to race for, and all the points count, especially when you got the Doge Squad boys. They are super close to each other.
I wonder if the tow was just like an immediate reaction out of frustration, and then remembering like, oh no, I can't afford to sacrifice any points. Like I need to stay in this and get as much as I can.
Yeah, Paul Boyle leading by 3 points. He's got 240, and then Aaron Clayball has 237 points as Andrew Neri is getting passed there by Owen McLaughlin into Lake Coombe, and he gets it done. And then Nick Paletti at about 8 points behind 8 points behind Boyle, and 5 points behind Clayball with 232 points. So Paul Boyle, any position he can get is gonna be worth it tonight, keeping his head in this race.
Yeah, Boyle already has a drop week to come. He's done very strong in the races where stuff hasn't happened. Although I think it was Le Mans. I know it wasn't the first race, but had a very bad race. One that will definitely be dropped from the record. But you only get 2 drops, so these may be the 2.
Yeah, Paul Boyle had a rough race at Daytona, eventually finishing second to last in class, so 8th. I think he retired.
Oh, a big collision actually between Don McCloy and Miguel McNamara going into Puhan. Actually, halfway through Puhan.
Miguel just getting a little bit loose, and McCloy collects him there.
Yeah, right before that, he lost it in the first, Puhan, otherwise known as double gauche, double left. In the first left of that, just loses it, gets into the grass, and then just never really fully recovered. And I don't think that Don McCloy had any idea what he was coming up to.
Yeah, Paul Skip lucky to squeeze through that there without some scratches. This is Zach Nurnberger allegedly did. Oh, that's what happened to him. He had a nice dry spin in the dirt. Craig Willis as well had a incident. And this is Blanchimont. Tricky corner, but it's not going to be there. It's going to be in the bus stop. Let's take a look. Just outbreaks himself.
Giving up on it. Yeah.
Luckily, he's smart enough to go straight on, not try to make the corner, and then keep it from spinning out.
Yeah, unfortunately, Don McCloy's damage is really bad. He just a couple corners after that crash that we saw, lost it, spun into the sand. He will for sure be coming into the pits on this lap. Unfortunately, I'm doing a lot of the great progress that he didn't come into the pits. Shockingly, as he gets passed now by Chris Newby, although that is for position there. So gets past going down the straight as that car is not looking good.
All right, so we'll have to keep an eye. This right here is Adrian Garcia Vajil, and he is in 3rd place. And he's trying to chase down these 2 right here. Tyler Langenberg, our leader. And then, of course, right behind him, Nick Terrell.
Yeah, hasn't really pulled away as much as I kind of thought he would based on just how much faster he seemed when he made that pass. He's, on average, been about 0.3 faster over the last 5 laps. But he just looked like he had so much speed when he made that pass. I thought that it was over. Both of those guys, though, your fastest laps are very strong. A 206.29 for Langenberg and a 206.39 for Nick Terrell, which I believe are the 2 fastest laps for the LMP2 field of this race.
Let's take a look here.
Oh no, Ripley in Calgary.
Yeah, 205.6 from one of them. Somebody blazing fast, really.
Yeah, Cowger and then Ripley. So Langenberg and Terrell, the two fastest that are in the session.
And of course, our fastest laps in the GTD classes have not changed for a long while. Now, Don McCloy with his damage, I guess it's been fixed. Looking to get by Christopher Newby, but just can't manage to get out and get that speed going.
Don McCloy's damage has not been fixed. It's still really bad.
Well, I mean, it was working for him against Newby, but Newby's into the pits, so.
Oh, but he got passed by Newby on the previous lap. That was he had a large gap to him and lost out. He was able to follow him at least, but yeah, Newby and Wildridge now coming in their pit stops with 37 minutes to go. It's right on schedule, so kind of trying to evenly split it. Which, speaking of which, probably should be expecting the heel to be coming in somewhat soon as well if he sticks to kind of the schedule it looked like he was trying to do earlier in this race.
Yeah, so
and Paul Boyle actually disconnected due to a packet loss.
Oh boy, so he's out of this race for now. He can come back, but it'll be quite an uphill battle. So, as we settle into the 1 hour mark, we're gonna take a little break, and we'll get back to you. That there is the Mr. McNamara off in the sand, but yeah, he recovers it. So we'll be right back. And we are back, and we're ready to see the final about 30 minutes of this race. While we were gone, we saw a little bit of controversy. Chris Newby going into the bus stop. He's blinking, but I'm assuming it's going to be a little bit of a incident on the brakes. So there he is.
No, it's worse than that.
On acceleration there. Miguel McNamara also had a little bit of trouble going into the bus stop, the same place. And just a little bit too much on the brakes, outbrakes himself, but no real damage. And then Richard Curry following Miguel. We saw him in the background of that shot.
Yeah, just doing the same thing. Both of them trying to outbrake each other. McNamara maybe just getting distracted by Curry in front. But speaking of trouble, John Kelly over that incident limit and grabbed himself a drive-through. That newbie crash was so weird to me, though. I don't think I've ever seen. That. It's just so weird. It's obviously put on the gas a little bit too much, but it was weird that it just kept going forward.
Yeah, it definitely was interesting. Now Craig Willis, I think that's the smoke that we're seeing in the screen there. There he is. Spun around.
It's fine, and then
way.
Like that was fine. Right here, no damage. He just spun in the sand, and then he does this, unfortunately. Boom.
Right into the wall. Yeah, and then
big damage to the rear right.
A interesting rejoin. Luckily, nobody is coming.
Chris Newby with a black flag. So obviously we saw him have that crash, but I don't really know what the black flag would be for, because I think he towed, so a little bit confused.
Well, Nick Terrell is chasing down Tyler Langenberg still. That gap after that round of pit stops is much smaller now. Only 1.4 seconds compared to the 3 that we had earlier. There's a nice shot there of Tyler Langenberg going around a lapped car.
Must have been the pit exit. It must have been what it was. I didn't see anything undo there, so maybe he just sped in the pits a little bit. Kind of hard to do. I don't know. I have no answer. He's not over the incident limit, so I have no clue.
Interesting. Well, that's unfortunate.
Jeff McDonald, though, still has 0 incidents. Travis Bell, the guy who's been giving him the most trouble in this race, is only at 2, so he's the second least, but he's really fallen off. McDonald, just continuing to be really, really fast right now. I mean, over the last 5 laps, averaging 0.3 faster. Their fastest lap, actually, Bell's been a little bit more, but McDonald having a fantastic race. He's had great races before. He's had really good qualifying efforts before, no question about that. But this has been for 70 minutes, 71 minutes, very, very strong by him.
Yeah, McDonald's got safety bonus in every race that he's done. Not the maximum one. It's always the lowest tier there was. But unfortunately, he did miss Daytona. He was at a gig, and he had a not-so-great finish at Road America last week as well. So
A Billy Joel cover band, I believe, is what he said.
yeah, I've seen a video of them, and they're pretty good. He plays the drums, so shout out to them. But that's gonna cause him a little trouble for his racing league standings.
And then looking at so we just got Paul Skip and Chris Newby in the pits. Well, I guess Newby obviously for his penalty, but Paul Skip coming in for what I would assume is his final scheduled pit stop. Garcia as well. So the 4 guys who have not pit so far in the LMP2 class are Richards, McCloy, Terrell, and Langenberg, our top 4 positions. Richards has gone 1 lap longer than the other 3, so I would imagine he probably comes in at the end of this lap. I don't think we've seen more than 16.
Take a look.
Oh, we've seen more, 18. All right, well, it'd still go a little bit longer then.
We've got 19 as our max right now by Langenberg, Terrell, McCloy, Richards. So let's take a look. McLaughlin at that 19 mark, it looks like.
Yeah, it's been very interesting to me that we've seen the GTDs converge quite often on the fuel strategy, and LMP2s we see a lot of difference as Langenberg now comes into the pits. In every race so far, with the GT3s, we see them all come in like waves. You know, a big wave. Everyone comes in at the same time. But yeah, it's this whole season. It's been very different with the LMP2 classes. People just kind of go at different times. It must be related to tire wear. I would think, as maybe you just have a bad stint on the tire wear and you want to get off those early.
Could be tire wear. It could be people like trying to outsmart the system. I know we've seen many different forms of fuel saving, bump drafting, and fuel strategy just as a whole. It started to develop last season, and now the addition of the tires being concurrent with fuel just it adds so many more possibilities.
Yeah, and of course I'm excluding the very important factor of just tactically, just if you're in a close battle, it's tough to get around the guy in front of you, or if you're under a lot of attack, or you got traffic that you're coming up to, just get out of it and take your pit.
Yeah, that's one way to escape, especially if the guy behind is playing some mind games. That might be a slowdown there for Christopher Craig. Big cut, it looks like, but manages to keep out of it, I guess. But yeah, mind games are a big thing. We've seen it played before. You just follow them nice and close and scare them out of the corner.
If I'm taking a glance here, I'm interested to see if there's anybody who's running pretty high up in the points and kind of at a dangerous level with the incident points. I don't think there's really anyone other than Chris Richards who is at 17, but he hasn't made his pit yet. So until he makes his pit, won't really know how it shakes up. But he will at least drop, of course, behind Langenberg, who's only 8 seconds behind him.
So 8 seconds is the gap.
But Terrell having a very lonely race out front now that Langenberg decided to pit. He's 30 seconds back to McCloy. So obviously we saw McCloy involved in an incident early. We saw Richards involved in an incident early, and have taken themselves out of the race there. As Chris Newby just goes deep there again into the bus stop. And luckily, no crash this time, but locking up a lot of tires there.
Yeah, that crash definitely did not do him wonders. Chris Newby's currently last of the running LMP2 cars, and he's in 11th out of 14. Mark Dillon Jr., Terry Kecker Jr., and Patrick Ripley of the LMP2 cars that have retired so far. And Chris Newby in the back, he's about 2 laps down.
I mean, we had 46 people into this race. I don't think Ryan Jeevan took the start, so 45 cars, and we're already down to 32 still alive on track now.
Yep, Trevor Dyer, the last of them to be actually. Yes, Trevor Dyer, the last to retire there, and he's in 33rd, of course.
So with the GT3 field, other than Paul Boyle's incident, which we saw, I really haven't seen a lot of drama at the front. I guess Dan Real was one who was running up high in the GTD AM class, but for the most part, I mean, we saw Jeff McDonald start there on class pole, and he's still there, still first. Travis Bell still there second. Richard Curry, once he had inherited that third place from Dan Real, still there in third. So, but Jarena there having a fantastic race in fourth. He's up 9 spots overall. Had actually a really good race last week. Was one of the guys who had made up the most positions after qualified a little bit, towards the back for the qualifying session at Road America, and then ended up finishing top half of the midfield there. So another good race for him, and fourth place, a great result on just his second race with the league.
Yeah, doing nice and pretty well. Now,
ooh, that looked like he may have lost it there. Did he save it?
Looks all right on my end.
Oh, he did. Looked sketch there for sure.
There's not really anybody battling for position on track right now. The closest is Christopher Craig and Steve Kube. They are about just under a second difference on track.
Yeah, I think there are some battles that are close. They're just separated by a pit stop right now. Obviously, Langenberg and Terrell is one that we're trying to keep an eye on. If we're looking at the last laps again, they're Langenberg now there on his first timed lap at a 2:06.9. Terrell's last lap was a 2:06.1. So clearly Terrell's tires are continuing to stay switched on for him. Makes sense for him to continue the stint a little bit more as Langenberg has to deal with those, getting those new tires up to temp.
Sounds like an online store. TerrellsTires.com. Get your tires today. But, yeah, Terrell definitely still firing out in front. And it's still 20 minutes to go in this race. Anything can happen.
Yep, Clayball looking like he's probably, unless he makes has a big incident, looking like he's going to be coming away with the win in that class. Paletti has certainly improved up to second place over Doty, and that's Foreman out wide there. Paletti coming to the pits now for his final stop.
So one more stop for Paletti, and he'll have about 20 minutes once he gets back out on track. And just has to bring it home and potentially finish second if he can keep it together.
And with Jeff McDonald, he's still right there next to Clayball. Clayball's just like 2 seconds ahead of him in the overall standings. So he has a shot to win the overall standings, but I don't think he's going to try too hard to do that. No sense in risking anything, as Hingley there had an incident and getting passed by those guys lapping him.
Yeah, the overall win doesn't give you any bonus, but it is nice to be one of the only people in E4A history to do that. That's Willis there, going around. It looks like
I think Hingley just
his right
is
rear
involved somehow.
Right rear is a little banged up there. You can see the tire kind of sticking out of the fender, I think. But he gets it going, and he's right on his merry way.
Yeah, something happened to Hingley just in like that same corner. Must have been a similar incident. And then Rick Hughes looks like he had some sort of incident as well, but I able to find what it was.
All right, well, that's Clayball into the pits. That's also McDonald following him in. So we'll have to keep an eye on where they come out compared to the rest of their class. I'm not sure that we'll see anything too big changing. And then up ahead again, Nick Terrell and Tyler Langenberg. The battle between pit stops has that evened out. I think Tyler has taken his pit stop already.
Yeah, we saw him come in a little early from that group that's up there. Of the top four who had all not pit yet, he was the only one. And so now Terrell, the only guy who has not come in for his second pit stop.
Yes.
See if he does it here.
A 19 lap stint. 2 of those put together makes it about right
going
now
in.
38. So 2 19 lap stints for Nick Terrell, and he's gonna come in. He's got about a minute back to Paul Skip and see to Tyler Langenberg and see where he comes out for this battle.
Travis Bell going at least a lap further than Jeff McDonald here. He's currently out on the track as Jeff McDonald has gone to the pits. It's Chris Newby here. A couple issues on the brakes here into this corner, just a little bit late. Kind of seems like he maybe did the same thing there again.
Yeah.
Bias barely avoids that.
What happens is if you let go of the brakes too aggressively and your steering angle is still cranked, that's gonna send you around.
But the McDonald's still at the 0 incidents, which is just kind of unreal at this track. There's a very small handful of guys who are even getting any bonus points now. I mean, even Paletti, who of course has won the safest driver award in the past, he's at 9 incidents. So pretty wild race. Craig Willis himself just picked up another drive-through for hitting that next incident point limit, unfortunately. And he's got some damage to the car too on both rear left and rear right.
Yeah, you do not want to drive through. Luckily, we're not running the endurance pits, so instead of coming in at the exit of the bus stop and exiting the same place they do now, like you come down all the way to the pit straight, go around La Source in the pit lane, and then go down the start-finish straight again. And you can see that line. The pit entry is part of the endurance pit lane as well.
Yeah, this is the Craig Willis minor incident there. He loses the control. See if that was in campus or Lafanya.
Take a look.
But this is the classic pit arrangement. So this is the way that the pits were for the F1 races a long time before they changed it to. Whew, that was close. A long time before they changed it to then have the pits on that first section immediately after the bus stop. So it certainly is a better start line, at least in my opinion, of having that green flag go before the erosion Radion rather than having the source be turn 1.
For sure. Now, so the gap between Nick Terrell and Tyler Langenberg is about 4 seconds. But
Langenberg loses it in the chicane in the bus stop.
Gotta
Around lap traffic and just kind of does what we saw Newbie do, sort of.
Gotta love the commentator's curse. So Tyler Langenberg, tacks that curb a little bit too hard, and it sends him around. Let's see how he gets it restarted. He's able to rejoin the track nice and fast.
Still has to slow down though. He still has to serve it.
He has to sort of slow down.
It has not fully burned off yet.
Boy, that's devastating for Tyler Langenberg. That's going to cost him a lot of time.
Still not burnt off. This is getting close to the point where we saw Steven Shepard get a black flag for not doing it enough. All right, finally. He had to really slow down there. That's other than the spin, that's a ton of lost time for Langenberg there. And Harold just running away with it now, 15 seconds ahead.
Yeah, he lost about 11 seconds there, and Vahil now, you can see him there in the background, 1.5 seconds, so Vahil could potentially come out of here with a P2.
Yeah, Vahil's last lap was really fast, too. It was a 2:06.3, so he has a ton of pace right now, and that was his fastest lap of the race, and absolutely, I mean, that's close to what Tyler Langenberg's fastest lap was, so he has completely put himself in this conversation, and we need to keep an eye on that for possibly a finishing second place for him.
Yeah, really unfortunate traffic for Langenberg
traffic
too.
There.
So Vahil hoping he gets slipped through. He does, but wow, he was indecisive there, and that's what causes incidents, is the indecisiveness between the two classes. Luckily, it worked out this time, and now the gap was 1.5 seconds going into turn 3. It's now 7/10 as we go into the backstretch.
They got about 7 laps to go once they cross that line, so plenty of opportunities for Vahil if he's still able to maintain this pace. Christopher Craig picking up a black flag. I think he maybe sped going into the pits. Yeah, it definitely looked like he came into the pits too fast there.
And Jeff McDonald picking up a fastest lap, 2:18.6, so improving it by 0.2 in the closing stages of this race.
And Claybaugh's immediately in front of him. He had some help from some tow, but Claybaugh's fastest lap, only a 2:19.0, and he's actually made his way around Claybaugh. So he's the overall leader for the GT3 race, as Claybaugh kind of lets him go by there in the Lacombe chicane. Neither of them really having to worry about guys around them.
Yeah, so 9 seconds for Jeff McDonald, and 15 seconds for Mr. Claybaugh there. So they're really battling each other for this overall win. That's it. It doesn't change their points haul. They'll both get first place.
Vahil
finish. Oh, and Vahil is right on the back, or is ahead now.
He's ahead
of Tyler Langenberg.
Traffic through the Kimmel Straight, just capitalized. Got some draft from some other traffic. That was a great pass. You got if you have that on replay, that was a neat looking pass there. That was well done by Vahil.
Let's see if we can find that.
All 3 of our class leaders with just 13 minutes to go. As they crash, looking like it's pretty much sealed up for them.
I see Tyler Langenberg going off track, but I do not have anything other than that. Oh, well,
yeah, it was a fantastic pass down the Kimmel Straight. Vahil expertly weaving his way around and able to put himself there in the in the second place position. So best finished so far in the season if this is how it finishes for him. Still not bad for Tyler Langenberg, who just needs to continue to get consistent points as Terry Calgary Jr., one of his rivals, having a bad race again today. So it's really kind of between him and Terrell, but Terrell is there almost assuredly going to win the race.
Yeah, it's looking good for him. 15 seconds. He has to hold it for about 11 minutes and 15 seconds. So it's shouldn't be too bad. And if we take a look at our LMP2 standings, Langenberg is leading, but Terrell is about 15 points behind. So it's not a huge gap. I think Langenberg is still going to lead after this race if they finish how they are, but it's going to chip a little bit away from his lead.
Yeah, and right now, Langenberg is on the absolute limit of receiving a single safety point. Currently, Terrell getting a single point, but Langenberg's one off track away from losing that. Still, yes, he's as long as he finishes there. Oh, and he's making the pass on Vahil right now.
There he goes.
And he's definitely going to not lose too much of a points advantage to Terrell after this race, especially if he finishes here.
Yeah, they are.
Ooh, that was close.
Langenberg, I feel like we always catch him getting a little squirrely. That looks like a lot of smoke haze as we come to Rivage. And it looks okay, though. Nice and clear for him.
There's Willis ahead, a couple of cars ahead with an incident there.
All right, so down to Puan they go. Vahil still hot on Langenberg's tracks.
Yeah, Langenberg always seems to do really well with the car when it's right on the limit, looking like he's nearly out of control, but he does it so often and so successfully that he is in control of that car, and it's always fun to watch, especially on board. It's fun to watch him on that wheel because, we saw it last season in that BMW, and we're seeing it this season to a certain extent as well, just kind of all over that wheel. It looks like a pretty exhausting way to drive.
Yeah, he's definitely an attacker when it comes to
heel.
driving.
Then obviously we missed it back there on the entrance to Lefania. Just goes a little bit wide, starts to lose it, goes into the sand. So that's why he lost those 6 or so seconds. No damage, but it's unfortunately a little bit late to be losing that much of a gap.
Yeah, you're gonna need a miracle to make that up, most likely. But
yeah, he's going to need to be over a second a lap faster.
And Claybaugh is looking for the overall win in the GTDs, but Jeff McDonald hasn't really set a foot wrong here tonight.
I do say that, but Vahil actually on the previous lap did set the fastest lap of the race for the LMP2. So, it's not totally out of the question, but it's possible. Oh no, Claybaugh!
That could be bad. He managed to keep it nice
okay.
and straight. Luckily, Christopher Newby sees it and does not hit him.
Yeah, Nubia, fortunately, not a lot to fight for right now. Just staying in the race in case anything happens to the guys in front of him, because he's got like a minute and a half to McLaughlin in front.
So we just make sure that he's staying nice and clean for this last 8 minutes of this race. 4 laps to go, and
McNamara.
Keep it nice and clean. McNamara, he's had a rough race here tonight, and
lost it and now gets a drive-through for that.
It's furthered as he heads down to Puan, and that rear of that car, the Porsche. Oh no! He cuts it a little bit too early, and that sends him through the grass and into the wall.
No, that's the same thing that we've seen. We've seen it happen to him. Seen it happen to John Kelly. We saw it happen to Daniel Real. There's something messed up with the latest stuff they did with the Porsche. It actually was so bad that if you didn't catch, I don't think we mentioned it in that Monza combined race. We didn't include the Porsche as like an allowed vehicle because it had a glitch where on the banking it would just crash. Like it would just lose control, and it's kind of doing that in some of these fast corners. Puhan, we see it in Blanchimont a couple times already. So this is not really on the driver. The car is cursed.
I will mention though that in the braking zone of Puhan, the curb there is a little like it's a rut, and you can get stuck in it. It won't allow you to turn, and then it'll spit you out, and it can send you. Obviously, not what happened there
Yeah, but
because he turned too early, but it also is a possibility. But the
Well,
Porsche,
the car,
yes.
on all of those, I think it was hard to tell from that angle. The car loses control before they even get to the curb. I mean, it immediately when they touch the wheel turn, it just snaps.
Oh,
It
that's
just
a slow
the
down.
rear end kicks outright. It's very bizarre to see. That doesn't look natural. So that wasn't him like taking it too early or hitting the curb or anything. It's just the same thing we've seen already in this race. The Porsche's just losing control for no reason.
All right, well, definitely unfortunate for McNamara this late in the race, but lucky for him, only 7 minutes to go if he can just bring it home. 6 minutes now.
Trevor Dyer, unfortunately, another driver's had a little bit of a rough race, lost it. It's going wide in La Source, actually.
There he goes. And, yeah, too much on the power. Getting on the unsettled curb there, and that's what throws him.
I've seen that incident happen a little bit less frequently with the GT3s, but open wheelers, that happens all the time in that corner. It's happened. It's a constant occurrence. It's really easy to get on the power too much there. So not surprising. You see that, of course, now in real life, there's sand out there. It's not a runoff anymore as one of their latest updates to the track.
Yep, there is sand there, and I believe there's a way different runoff configuration for the uphill turns following it. They got rid of the wonderful house that was there, and
Yeah, Eau Rouge Radeon has been completely reprofiled. Should be a lot safer, so I would love to see that get added into get rescanned for iRacing once that's completed, because it's definitely one of the most notable and well-known turns in the entire world. So you want it to be as accurate and realistic as possible.
yeah, you say Eau Rouge and you think Spa. That's for sure.
So, what happened to Nick Terrell? That's just okay. It's a little worried there. That was just your standings there, having him in seventh. He is still on track. He's there in first. I'd seen that time gap and I was a little confused. But they're running strong up there. He's certainly not taking it easy, because his last lap was a 2:05.854. So, and his lap a little bit before that was a 2:05.7. So he is still flying. He has the opportunity to kind of take a little bit of a break, but he's not doing it.
Yeah, he's cruising. He's got about 2 laps to go. Let's take a look at him, see where he is on track. There he is. And he's going through the back end, so it's looking like 2 laps to go.
Yeah, it'll be 2 when they hit the line.
And that'll give everybody else a chance as well to settle their affairs, although it's not looking like we're going to see as many last lap, last corner battles like we did in some previous races this season. This is the closest pair on track, Richard Curry and Josh Doty, and they are not even in the same class.
Yeah, it's worth following at the least. Dustin Dos Weiss wonderfully recovered, despite, I mean, we saw him have to have a meatball. He's out of the pit cycle, and yet he's still there in 4th in the overall field. He's 1.7 seconds back from Jorena, who's having a great race himself. However, he has been on average slower than Jim Jorena, just slightly over the last 5 laps. It doesn't seem like he has the current pace to catch up that 1.7 seconds in the last couple laps, unless something big happens.
We'll keep an eye on him. Nick Terrell sets the fastest lap of the race, though.
2:05.3.
Now that's fast.
Wow.
That is very, very fast, especially with the setups we run here. And he's flying out in front.
Yeah, that is very. Don McCloy, what happened there? I think Dick McCloy may have lost connection. Oh no, he just was. Yeah, that was like one of the longest blinks I've ever seen. I guess keep an eye. Hopefully he doesn't fully get kicked out of the race. He's doing well. Up 9 spots from that qualifying where he didn't have a completed lap to 5th.
Yeah, He's doing pretty well in 5th.
Oh, Jarena, was that accurate there? I think it was.
Has a crash, I think.
Oh, it was. Yeah, I just was talking about it. Yeah, and Delefania here. We've seen the GT3s have a lot of issues. Or sorry, that's Stavolo. Sorry.
Goes around.
Oh, and he nearly saved it.
Just
So
barely.
slow.
And into the wall. He's gonna. Did he tow there? I think. Or did he just blink? One of the two.
Yeah, he just drove, but just lost a lot of time from that. So currently takes him back to 6th. He was in 3rd. That's it shows. I mean, they're not super close, but the gaps are not large enough that you can make big mistakes in this last lap or two.
No, and it's I mean, this field is pretty spread out by now, and Nick Terrell is seeing that white flag flying as he crossed that tiny line there. So 1 lap to go in this race.
See up there, Paul Wildridge is right on the back of his teammate Chris Richards, currently fighting for 6th and 7th, separated by just about 6 or 7 tenths, I think. I'll have a lap and a half to try to duke it out here.
Yeah, so some of the closest on track, 7 tenths, 8 tenths is what separates the two Eagle Vision teammates there.
McDonald breaking into the stop chicane here. He's coming up to his final lap, still on the 0 incidents. I'm very excited to see if he's able to finish there because, I mean, the next closest is Paul Skip, who's at 4. Travis Bell at 4 as well.
Oh, yeah. Looking really good for him. 13-second lead for Jeff McDonald. And then Paul Wildridge is on the chase. He was about 4 tenths behind his teammate. Now it's back to a 2nd with that traffic there of Aaron Claybaugh, the GTD Pro leader, and it's chase is on. Last lap.
Yeah, he was 1.1 seconds faster in the previous lap, so has pace, but he's not close enough here, and this is easily the easiest passing zone. So if he doesn't get him here, which he won't, I think that it's probably going to come down to if he's able to stay close enough through this little bit more twisty middle section and make a move into the bus stop.
We'll have to see. Keep your eye on these two. They're going to be our final lap battle of the night.
Oh, and Richards coming into contact, or not contact, but coming in with Jeff McDonald there at a bad time, and has lost some more time to Wildridge, who did have to slow down through there as well. You don't want to catch lap traffic through Purcell; it's tough.
No, it's definitely not fun to catch him there. Now take a look here.
It goes Feist into the pits.
Nick Terrell takes the win for LMP2. So well done from him. Not really any competition. He's got a 14-second win. There's the flag. And Tyler Langenberg, 2nd across the line, following Adrian Garcia Vahil here in 3rd. Back to our battle here. It's not looking like anything's going to happen for Paul Wildridge, but I have to keep an eye on that. It's still 6 tenths as they come into the final area. Flashing his lights at his teammate is Wildridge. All 3 of them about to cross the line together, the Eagle Vision Racing boys. But this fight is not over until it's over. Let's hope they both know the finish line's on the other side. Oh no! Sending McLaughlin for a little ride there.
Oh no!
Oh, and he's getting
squirrely
side by side to the line. It's about 1,000th of a second. They cross the line, and it's 007. Chris Richards is 7th place. He gets beat by his teammate by 7 1,000ths of a second. Wow. Jeff McDonald.
That was wild.
Finishing the race in 1st, and finishing the race in the overall lead of GTD. So he's going to be added to the big list of amateurs to finish ahead of all the pros. So very well done to him. Paletti takes second in pro, along with Doty in third, and then Richard Curry looking good for him to finish third in AM.
Yeah, it looks like if we remember that early pit that Dos Vice had to make, he was just one lap away. Just had one lap of fuel he needed to come in to get. Was running there in third and lost that with Curry, then taking third place, which we can see right here.
So
I don't think he knew that was the pitch because that was close.
Very close. Mr. Webb only 4 tenths behind.
Wow, that was almost disastrous for Curry.
But he managed to keep it, and of course Adrian Garcia Vajil keeps his third place. So a few more people to cross the line here. Dustin Dos Valles needs to get to the finish line, along with I believe he has Christopher Craig. Who also has. So here's our results for the night. Nick Terrell takes the win in LMP2, and then Tyler Langenberg is going to follow him. Then Adrian Garcia Vajil, Paul Skip, Don McCloy, Paul Wildridge, Chris Richards, Zach Nurnberger, Andrew Nary, Owen McLaughlin, Chris Newby, Patrick Ripley, Terry Kegger Jr., and Mark Dillon Jr.
And our results for the GTD Pro class with his second win of the season, Aaron Claybaugh, followed by Nicholas Paletti, Josh Doty, Gareth McAllister, Steve Kube, Craig Willis, and Paul Boyle.
Alrighty, and GTD AM. Jeff McDonald, then Travis Bell, Richard Curry, Jonathan Webb, Angel Durana, Dustin Dos Valles, Daniel Barnett, Rick Hughes, James Foreman, Christopher Craig, Leonardo Elijah, Dan Coleman, John Kelly, Miguel McNamara, Daniel Hingley, Trevor Dyer, Stephen Shepard, and Daniel Real.
And after those guys, Keith Roycroft, James Kingsbury, Eric Jacobs, Donovan Johnston, Atticus Middleton, David Schmidt, and Ryan Jeevan.
All right, so quite a race here tonight, and we've got a few interviews ahead of us. So take it away, Zach.
I'm going to take a look at our GTD AM class there with our second place finisher, Travis Bell. Going to bring him in. Travis, get me in the booth here.
Yes, sir.
That's a second place finish for you again, in a frankly ridiculously consistent season, a podium in every race still. I'm actually at the second least incident points as well. So with it being a pretty uneventful race for yourself, what did you do to limit those incident points at a track where off tracks are common, and to kind of play nice with some LMP2 lapping traffic?
I always find it a lot easier once you're by yourself. It's much easier to just stay consistent because you don't have that visual drive to push or try to defend. But just maintaining composure, and like I said, there's a lot of spots that are easy to off track. So I'm just trying to make sure I hit every breaking point like always, and just keep it on. Was doing all right there in the first stint. Was with Claybaugh and Jeff. Couldn't keep up with them after the second, and then I just had numerous run-ins with the LMPs and inopportune spots that just kind of cost me a second here, a second there. But that's how it goes.
Yeah, that was what was different about the car, between that first and second stint. First stint, never made a move for the pass, but we're right on the back of Jeff McDonald throughout the whole thing, usually less than a second, and then, like you said, fell off a little in the second stint. So what was different about the car driving in during that second stint that you felt?
I don't know. I mean, maybe it was just the warm-up phase on the tires that they were able to get them going quicker, and then break away. It's hard to say. That the Merc definitely was not strong. I was actually about to race the BMW, but decided to stick with what I knew. I didn't really get much time to practice. I talked to a couple people, and they all pretty much said, "Don't drive the Merc on this track. It's not going to be a good time." But of course, I went with it anyways. Stuck with what I knew, and I guess it worked out in the end.
Yeah, it does. It does kind of seem like it's a little bit of a convergence to the BMW in the field. You and Jonathan Webb both running the Mercedes and finishing well, however. With this season, there's been a couple updates, to the cars, but with Fuji next week, not too dissimilar from Spa as far as, having some high-speed sections that are important. Are you potentially going to stick with the Mercedes still because you had a good race here, or are you considering switching to the BMW for next week?
I'll probably ride the Mercedes out at this point. Just used to it, and I know Fuji pretty well because I did the practice event that Pony Express put on before the actual season started, and it went pretty well in there. And I don't think the Mercedes has actually been changed since the little patches and stuff, but other cars have changed. But definitely does seem like the BMW is a good way to go. So we'll see.
Well, despite the fact that we haven't even factored in drop weeks yet, we're getting pretty close to that point where we're getting close to mathematically locking up the championship. At least provided you attend the races, because after Spa here, which we had, you get second place. You had another podium. Only 3 races to go with 2 drop weeks. So it kind of seems like a shoo-in right now, to be honest, with your I think 50 point or so lead. Do you think that you'll be able to continue the podium streak, however, in these next few races?
I can only hope so. There's definitely some stiff competition. Rich Curry's good, Jeff's good. I mean, all those guys are good. Daniel Real's he's super fast. He was coming up on me in the first stint, but I guess some luck goes into it. What you encounter on track, and an hour and 40 minutes is a long time. So it's just about making it to the end more often than not, even if you're not the fastest guy out there on track.
Well, we've had you in the booth a number of times before. It wouldn't shock me if we see you in the booth again later this season, potentially even next week. So good luck next week at Fuji, and you have a great night, Travis.
All right, thanks, Zach. Appreciate it.
That was our second place finisher for the GTD AM field, Travis Bell. I'm going to bring in our race winner, Jeff McDonald. Jeff, you get me in the booth.
Yeah, I got you guys. How you doing?
Oh, we're doing great. It was a pretty wild race. So with this race, another good standing that you've had on the season. Obviously you missed Daytona, so that was a little bit of a hurt one. But you won at Hockenheim and you won today. But you made it even more impressive by winning it with 0 incident points. So with a track like Spa, how are you even able to do that?
You know what? I love this track. I really do, and I love leaning on the car. Like you get some of them fast corners where you can get in and just get tight on the apex with the gas on and just lean on the outside, and if they're set up right, they work. But I tested all the cars, and the BMW was the only car I could trust. Through Blanchiment, all the other cars, the Porsche was the worst. You get halfway through the corner, and the back end just comes off from under it, like for no reason. And I'm like, there's no way I can do that if there's traffic around, let alone trying to do it by myself. So I had to go with the Beamer, which normally isn't my first choice, but it was a good car tonight.
Yeah, it's not just you. Pretty much everyone that drove the Porsche today, we saw at least one incident of that. Yeah, like you said, just that bizarre, just snap oversteer where the rear just steps out. So,
yeah,
certainly not the answer for this week. Although it does seem like there's a little bit of a convergence to the BMW and the Ferrari for this season. So with Fuji we have next week, and probably kind of similar characteristics to Spa here. Do you feel? I know you'll do some testing, but do you think the BMW is going to be one you're going to stick with?
I'm always going to test the Porsche first, and that was the car that I almost won with last season. I think who was it? Keith Roycroft beat me by like 500ths or something.
Yeah.
At the line, and well earned, by the way. He babied that car all the way to the end. But I'll always test that one first because I love the way that car feels to drive and the way it sounds. And if it doesn't work, then I'll make the Audi would probably be my second choice. And if that's not it, then I'll go to the Beamer.
You came out with the fastest lap in the GTD AM field, I believe, and only behind 2 of the pros, winning the overall standings. You certainly in the last half, you stayed with Aaron Claybaugh through most of that race, but then actually were able to make the move for the overall lead and just had a lot of pace in that last stint. So, what was it about the track or the car where you were finding so much speed at the end of this race?
What was the fastest lap in that last stint? I didn't even get a chance to look.
Yeah, it was lap 36 of 43, so it was in that final, about halfway through that final stint for you, probably once the tires warmed up.
Wow. Okay, because I didn't put tires on. I just went. I didn't change tires, and Aaron didn't either. We were talking about it in the waiting room, and he said, "Yeah." He goes, "Jeff's probably not going to change tires, so I'm not gonna." And during the first stint, I was pretty quick in the beginning, but I didn't want to push the car that hard, so I let Aaron by, and I just followed him for a little bit and tried not to slide the tires, so I could see what they'd be like after a stint. What was left of them. And then when I was running the second stint, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to have to make these last because we're going to have a short pit on the last stop, and I'm not going to have time to take tires. So I just took it easy on him the whole time. And in the first stint, I was able to pull back up on Aaron the last probably 5 or 10 laps. I was catching him a couple tenths a lap, and I'm like, all right, well, that's going to be my shot. I said I really just was worried about the AM win and the 0X, but we had some traffic that caused some stuff, and it got him within reach, and his tires looked like they were going away, and it just, it was a gift, really. He drove great, and he always runs me clean, so hats off to him for great driving. And the LMP guys were great tonight. I didn't have any issues with them. I don't know what it looked like for everybody else, but they drove very respectful, and I tried to make myself real obvious, and so it's good all the way around.
Again, congratulations on another win. With a competitive GTD AM field, you mentioned some of the names already. You're actually you're the first guy to win multiple races this season. We've had 5 different winners up to this point and 5 different poles, and you have now been the first person to get a second pole and a second win. But this is your 4th fastest lap that you've now racked up. So. Certainly showing a lot of pace in the race as well. So we hope you have good luck next week at Fuji, and hope you if the race does come to the same kind of photo finish, that you're on the other side of it this time.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks to my sponsor, Ninja Botanicals. it's actually my company, but I wreck about $1 billion worth of cars testing every week, just to find out how hard I can push them. And so, yeah, it's great, man. I love this, and having fun. I can't wait to watch the show tomorrow.
We appreciate it, and looking forward to next week. And you have a great night, Jeff.
Thanks, you guys, too. I appreciate you.
That was our race winner, second of the season, Jeff McDonald. And I'm going to go to our pro field where Nick Paletti came in second. Got to bring him in. Nick, you get me in the booth here.
Yeah, gotcha.
Well, it's a second place finish there. Of course, a little bit of some story to that race for you. Qualified a little bit lower than what we normally see you qualify, I would say. And it was looking like the podium was out of reach for the first little bit, but now you actually finished on second. So, you obviously had a very clean, especially second half of that race. How were you able to pull out that performance while you had a couple guys in front of you drop away?
I mean, I had no pace tonight. I mean, just no pace. I mean, both of my teammates had me covered, and a couple of our AMs who were pretty quick for amateurs. But yeah, they had me covered. It's just staying in there and not making mistakes, and I don't want to say lucked into the P2, but there were some fast guys out there that either got in incidents or with Paul getting disconnected and all that stuff. So I mean, I'll take the P2, but it didn't feel like I did much to earn it.
Well, I know you are being a little bit humble there, but you actually had the second fastest lap in the GTD Pro field with a 2:18.4 on lap 35 of your 43. So that pace came in, pretty strong at the end of that race. What was your? I know that Claybaugh and McDonald said they didn't take tires on their final stop. Did you take tires on your final pit stop?
Yeah, I figured why not. I didn't want to go over on X's. I mean, the tire model from last year to this year has been the biggest thing holding me up, and when the tires go, the car just understeers so much out and just keeps going out and out, and here that's just incident points. So take the tires, tried to keep it 10 or under, and that was the main reason for taking the tires. I think you'll see Aaron kind of learned his lesson. I think he had a few sketchy moments that he was not happy with. So, I mean, on those last stops, when we have these 3-stop races, you're probably going to lose 2 seconds if you take tires. But as long as you can put in some solid lap times on those first 3 laps, then you're basically right back at the same pace as everybody else, but you've got a little bit more stability. So yeah, put on the new tires, blitzed it, got a nice track temp, and got a decent lap.
So despite that report on the tire model, there was the BMW still the right choice for that? Because I mean, all three of you guys were in it, and then of course Jeff McDonald, who had a great race, was in the BMW as well represented at the front of the GT3 field.
Yeah, from the testing we did, the Beamer was, I don't know if it's the fastest car. Every week it doesn't feel like it's the fastest, and it just doesn't feel, at least for me, it doesn't feel like it has in the past, but it's the most stable probably out of all the GT3 cars right now. Uh, Ferrari, you probably could find a bit more pace in. The Audi, you could probably find a bit more pace in, but you're on edge every corner, and that's just not that's not how you get through these races being on edge. I think if we had an open setup and we could start messing with some of the wing angles and maybe make some of those rear to mid-engine cars a bit more stable, it might be a different story. But right now, the Beamer is the stable option to go, and it'll keep you from getting as many incidents. So I think that was the main reason why all three of us went with it.
The win still eludes you on the season. However, that's a podium in every single race: third, second. And now with two unfortunate results for Paul Boyle, that's him using up his 2 drop weeks. So things have gotten a little bit more interesting. Obviously, Claybaugh pulling just slightly more away from you now. What's the game plan going into Fuji and the final few races we have of this season?
Oh man, I'll tell you, I was telling the guys, never has P3 been so discouraging. Come home with a podium, but it's you lost to both of the guys you need to beat. Kind of like what we had with this race. I think if I would have qualified better, I might have had a chance at the win. So it's just sitting there and waiting for things to happen. I think Paul has got both of us covered. He's really liking the new tire model, his direct drive. He's really starting to lean into it. So it's just going to be sitting back, running our races, and seeing what comes to it. If that ends with a win, cool. If it ends with a P3, then that's the maximum I was able to get for that race. So just playing it cool, not getting frustrated, being patient, and just having a good time.
Well, we wish you luck and some continued consistency next week at Fuji. Certainly want to see you hit that top step at some point this season. We got a few more races to do it, so potentially we'll see you there next week. But congratulations on the second place in this race, and you have a great night, Nick.
Thank you guys so much. Have a good rest of your night.
Too. That was our second place finisher for the GTD Pro Field, Nick Ploy. Now we bring in our second time winner, Aaron Claybaugh. Aaron, you get me in the booth.
I gotcha.
It's win 2 on the season now. One where you did actually come out second in the overall GT3 standings, but won your class handily. Especially with you had pace early in that race and continued all the way through the end. I think with some of the other drivers, we saw them start to really pick up that pace in those last couple stints. Where were you? How were you able to find so much pace early in the race?
I'm not really sure, honestly. I know that Paul, oh man, he was outclassing all of us in the GT3s tonight, AM and Pro. He was about second a lap faster than us, and from the beginning, I was just trying to stick as close as I could to him. And by lap like 4, it was already like 5 seconds back, and it was like, all right, well, we're not going to get him unless he makes a mistake. And unfortunately, he had some issues with his car and then internet problems on top of that. So it wasn't meant to be for him tonight. But yeah, then it was just a matter of trying to keep the car on the road. And I had a pretty good gap there to Jeff for the overall. But then got in an incident with some back markers, GT3s coming together. Brought him right to me. And then that last stint, we both didn't take tires, and he conserved his tires a lot better than I did. I was killing my tires every stint. And yeah, it just didn't work out. But it was great racing Jeff there. He did a great job to get that overall tonight.
You Your fastest legal lap was lap 14, which was earlier than almost any of the other drivers. Now, of course, I stress that because you did have your fair share of off tracks there. So I know Paletti had said, he had a good amount himself, and was saying that the BMW was kind of understeery, but it was safe. Was that where a lot of those were coming from? Just some understeer off tracks.
Yeah, definitely. And I was at 7 before I got into those back markers, and then once I got the 4x from that, it put me over the 10. So I was like, all right, at this point, whatever. I'm just gonna start, you know, pushing a little bit more, and that's when I racked up like almost double. So yeah, unless you were really being careful, yeah, the car was just really understeer, really going out wide in a lot of those sections. But compared to some of the other cars this week, like the Ferrari, it was just amazingly stable compared to that.
The results on the season now for you. You got second, first, third, second, first. So just like Paletti continuing a streak of all podiums, and although like you said, we have seen Boyle be very fast. He now has 2 very bad drop week races, and can't really afford to have another one. So what's the strategy going into Fuji and also the last 2 races after that being Manicure and Watkins Glen?
Yeah, so as far as Fuji, I know that that's like from the beginning of the season, I circled that as my weak point. Paul was really fast there last year till he had something go awry, and Nick had really good pace there too last season. So my goal next week is just damage limitation. Goal is a P3. If we can get higher than that, great. If not, no big deal. And then for Watkins Glen, that's my best track. So win or bust, basically. And hope that things come out okay. But it's gonna be tough to beat Paul. Like he said, he's had 2 drop weeks, but the other 4 weeks that have counted for him so far are all wins. So
Yeah.
he's gonna have to have a pretty big shocker these next couple weeks to have any shot at him. But kudos to him. And like I said, great job from Nick to bounce back tonight. He started further back in the pack, kept it clean, and was able to get P4 overall, which is great for him.
He definitely started to find that pace in the second half of the race, although he was very, very humble about his results. But again, congratulations on a second win of the season, having a very consistent finishes, and we look forward to seeing you in the booth again, potentially next week at Fuji.
Thanks a lot, guys. Really appreciate it. Thanks for doing the broadcast.
Thank you very much. You have a good night.
You too.
That was our race winner, Aaron Claywell. Now I'm going to bring in our second place finisher for the LMP2, Tyler Langenberg. Tyler, get me in the booth.
Hello.
That was, it looked like a pretty exciting race for the LMP2s. A lot of places in this track where it's a bad time to catch up to some traffic. So, what was your experience with that? You started 5th and made your way all up to 2nd by the end of the race.
To start, I was just trying out an alternate strategy, just seeing what works, what didn't. Obviously, I feel like if I didn't loop it in the bus stop there, chicane, whatever you want to call it, yeah, if I didn't loop it there, it would have been a lot more interesting. Probably more interesting than the battle I had with Adrian, I think.
Yeah, VL.
Yeah. I think it'd be more interesting. I also had my crew chief overfill me by a lap, which I didn't realize until after the pit stop. So that ultimately cost me some time there because it's a long lap, a lot of fuel in the car, or a lot of fuel burn over the lap. But yeah, the traffic was just sometimes it was a blessing, sometimes it was a pain. I always try to I'll openly admit this one. I always try to see how, like, if someone's on my bumper, I can always see how I can get a GT car as a pick and see if I can gain time on that. But ultimately, it came back to bite me where I caught traffic at a bad time, and yeah.
Run us through that incident you had where you just kind of flew out of nowhere and were able to take that lead from Nick Terrell. I think coming into Blanchimont, looked like there was some traffic playing a factor. You looked like you had, you were unbelievably more pace than everybody around you at that point with a really strong middle stint there. Run us through that incident there.
So, given traffic, that's an ad. That's like for everyone in general. But for my strategy that I was trying, I needed to be ahead of Nick, like by a lot more than just trailing behind him. So strategy did play a part in that, where I needed to like go in that stint just so I could be in front of him at like for the on the exit of the last stop because of my alternate strat. So that's kind of why I decided to finally send it at that point.
You unfortunately very late in that race, picked up that final incident point, taking you over the 10x. I mean, still a lot of people doing worse than you, but I just was was it understeer that you were experiencing with the car, or what was causing so many off tracks here?
I was just driving angry, I'll be honest. Also, like, just trying to get away from people, keep up, gain that extra half tenth or two.
The standings that we've got now, other than Road America, where I'm sure you don't really want to talk about that one too much. Got a little bit hampered in that one, but with 2 drop weeks, of course, that one's going to be going in there. So every race beyond that one, you finished second or higher with about a 20-point gap on Nick Terrell heading into the race. Of course, closing up just slightly. But what's the strategy going into the final few races with only one bad race on your schedule right now?
I could take it easy, but like I said, that'd be taking the easy way out. I'm gonna see if I can see how high I can finish in each race as hard as I can. But yeah.
Well, like I said, we've seen you in the booth every race except for one this season. Wouldn't shock me to see you a few more times in these last three races. So, good luck next week at Fuji, and congratulations again on a great season so far.
10-4, thank you.
Have a great night, Tyler. That was our second place finisher, Tyler Langenberg, and championship leader right now. So I'm going to bring in Nick Terrell, who currently is putting in his first win on the season. Nick, you getting me in the booth?
I am. Do you hear me clearly?
Yes, we do. Loud enough. Hard to believe that this was your first win on the season. We've seen you running at the front quite frequently, and it's seems like it's been due. So what was this race? What was it that clicked in this race where finally you were able to get that win?
Well, first I didn't loop it like I did at Hockenheim, so first and foremost that helps. I qualified pretty decent. I was really happy with a P2 qualify. Basically, just the plan was just to chill back between behind Terry and Patrick, or even Tyler, or anybody that was going to be trying to push and be feisty early on. But then Patrick and I just kind of started getting into it and having some fun, and then I realized Terry had opened up like a 5+ second gap at that point. So I tried to just clean it up and get in the line at that point. But then traffic was what allowed Patrick to able to catch back up to Terry kind of mid race.
The looking at your lap times here, you were able to put in the fastest lap of the LMP2 field, and not even really close, putting in a 2:05.3, and that came on the third to last lap. So was it track conditions or the tires? Because I mean that was like 7 or 8 laps since you last pit, and did you even take tires on the final stop?
Yeah, I knew I had right at the amount of fuel to add to be able to take tires. So basically, I came off the jacks, and about a half second or so later, I was on the gas getting out of there. But I was just kind of just being relatively easy on the tires, and then I was looking at lap deltas and kind of knew I could be comfortable, and I was still wanting to just comfortably push, because it's like if you start trying to let up, your timing gets all messed up, and that's whenever like a mistake can kind of happen. then I was just kind of BSing with Mark and those guys on Discord, and I jokingly asked if because I saw that Adria Garcia had set a quick lap, and I said to Mark, I was like, "Is there any bonus point or anything if I'm able to run a quicker lap?" And he said no, and I was like, "Well, if I look up at the track map and I see it looks pretty clear in front of me, I'm gonna push on one of these laps." So I was looking at the track map, and I didn't see any GT3s really in front of me. Looked like it impacted me, so I just kind of went balls to the wall there, and I was just trying to push as much as I could comfortably, and I saw my delta dropping as I was coming out toward the last sector and stuff. So I knew it was gonna be a pretty good lap if I could just hold it together. I was pretty happy to see that.
Well, certainly not the same result that you had last week at Road America. Didn't see you in the same kind of incident. So, what was your experience with lapping traffic through this race? Another very wide and long racetrack.
Yeah, I accrued a few little 0x bumps on some GT3s here and there, just trying to get the carry speed through the corners just quite right to be able to start rolling into the throttle and the exit. Just because in like anything first gear on this car, especially like out of the last corner, it's a turd compared to the GT3s until it starts getting into the boost and the RPM range. Then you can start getting by them. It's just one of those things like if you had to kind of almost time your exits on some of the corners, and it just kind of came just throughout the race. You don't really know everybody's speed they're going to carry, and that's where a couple little 0x bumps happened. And don't think it caused any damage to anybody, and kind of apologized or said sorry for the nudge there, but no harm, no foul, and get in the rearview mirror and just try to keep pushing. And paid very close attention after the unfortunate mishap with Terry and Patrick. I was paying very close attention to both Paul and Tyler, both just on pace and then also standings wise. So I was just wanting to kind of just be consistent, not take any chances. And then once the Delta kind of got a little lucky there toward the end, and the lap Deltas had opened up more, especially after the last exit, and Tyler had a spin and slow down and such, I was able to be much more calm and patient on some of the corners that I was taking for overtake or passing of lap traffic, and that is let the comfort just kind of calm way down. My shirt's already soaked enough as it is now, so it was one of those deals that I was just had a nice race there at the end once I saw I was going to be able to hopefully stay ahead of Tyler.
So looking at the overall season results, on the season you've got a second, third, now first here. A couple races with Monza and Road America that you'd like to drop. Tyler Langenberg, of course, has his own race with Road America to drop, and he's got a first, and a second. So what is the strategy after you've made the gap a little bit smaller to Langenberg in front, including some safety points that he was not able to earn? What's the strategy for the remaining three races of Fuji, Manicure, and Watkins Glen?
Well, I'll probably have Magni as my drop. I might not even show up that night, just as a track I don't really have much time in. Plus, I don't know what my kickball schedule is going to be. It starts back this next week, so I'm hoping I have early game, so then I can get back here and get a little bit of time in before qualifying. Those will be close if they do. Otherwise, I'll have to pray and hope a little bit on my two drop weeks, kind of be the minor ones. So it might be one of those I'll be kind of forced to drive Magny-Cours if I am going to be prior obligation on any of the other weeks. And Glen is one of my favorite tracks too, so I may even if it's looking close coming in the last race, that's one of those I'll miss my first kickball game that I've missed in like 2 or 3 years. I've been doing it with them just to try to see that through, because this is one of the rare seasons that I've been able to actually attend almost all the races just because the timing has worked out with the breaks and on both ends and everything. So knock on some wood. I guess I better find some real quick. Hopefully it works out.
Well, we wish you luck next week at Fuji and the remainder of the season. It's podium number 4, win number 1, and second fastest lap of the season. So congrats on a very successful race, and we hope to see you in the booth again.
Thanks, fellas. Thanks, Tom and Zach. Looking forward to actually watching the broadcast now.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Probably a little more fun than last week for you, I'm sure. You have a good night, Nick.
Oh, yeah. No doubt. You too. See you guys.
And that was our race winner, Nick Terrell, second place in the championship.
All right, so quite a race we had here tonight. Definitely flew by, and it was very interesting to watch. Lots of action, and a lot cleaner than last week. So very good. Looking forward to next week at Fuji, and think that's all we have for you tonight. We'll see you in about a week's time. So, good night, everybody.